Sanctuary of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1, Country Boy. It is a symbol of this era, a guardian of justice, a protector of order, a defender of peace, a helper of the people, and something that has overturned much of the world's understanding. Developed 20 years ago, these mechas, collectively known as natural mechas, can operate without manual intervention, controlled by a higher level of brainwaves. Their energy is drawn from nature, hence their name. The atmosphere, sunlight, water, and the earth all provide energy, and they are hailed as one of the most incredible inventions. After more than a decade of continuous technological refinement, the day has finally arrived when they are recognized worldwide and widely adopted. In the early hours of the morning, a young man opened his eyes. All around him was pitch black. Gazing out the window from his bedside, he could see the chirping of insects outside. It was the middle of the night, and the young man touched his forehead, wiping away the sweat. The heat had woken him, and even though the fan next to him was still running, it was insufficient in the sweltering temperatures, exceeding 40 degrees Celsius. The temperature has recently reached a new high. Whether it's due to the natural mecha, the impact on the world, or something else entirely, this hasn't been easy for a young boy living in an old house in the countryside. Without air conditioning and plagued by mosquito bites, the nights are tough. So he climbs out of bed and grabs a glass of water from the nearby table to soothe his parched throat. The boy's name is Xingze, and he's 18 years old. At 10, he lived in the city, but due to his parents' relationship, he moved to the countryside to live with his grandfather. 8 years have passed, and he's been working the fields with his grandfather year-round. But 6 months ago, his grandfather passed away, and he's now living alone. Although he still attends school, school doesn't really interest him. Like most people, he's a curious 18-year-old, and after experiencing so much ups and downs lately, he hopes a stable life will be a blessing. That's what the boy believes. The boy had ordinary worries. He considered that he might one day rely on that piece of land for a living, but in reality, that prospect was quickly shattered. A month ago, his land was acquired. Though he was reluctant, he had no choice. It was said that all the land in the area was acquired. The government was responsible, but the natural mecha also played a significant role. It could replace human labor, so the boy's work was no longer needed there. The boy's worries were about what the future would hold. Morning had slipped in unnoticed, and the sun was already streaming in when I opened my eyes. Time was of the essence, so I quickly finished breakfast, grabbed my school bag, and headed to school. The school wasn't far from my home, and I quickly arrived at this village school. I spent the day there as usual. It was like that until the sun set in the evening, and I was about to leave. It had been a while since school was over, and I didn't really enjoy staying in school, but today was special. By the time I left the campus, the students were almost gone, and I walked at my usual leisurely pace, following the path next to the school gate towards my home. The country lane wasn't particularly wide, a stark contrast to the city where I'd lived before. But there, in front of me, stood 4 students. Apologize, Xingze-san. Otherwise. HMPH, you understand, right? Huh? A man with dyed red hair, one of the 4, said, his gaze gleaming with confidence. The 3 men standing beside him also looked less than ideal. Don't talk in your sleep. With those 2 simple words, 2 or 3 men charged towards me, ready to strike. They were delinquents, right? According to society's standards, I punched the first one, sending him flying, and then I dealt with the other 2 with some tactical maneuvering. As the 3 men fell, I remained standing, my face and body covered in blows, a bit embarrassed, but that wasn't a problem. I'd had some mosquito bites last night, perhaps similar to that. What the hell? Isn't this guy strong? I might be labeled a delinquent, but that's not important. It's just the few delinquents who were taken down, and me who's still standing. Facts have proven my body is just as strong as theirs, thanks to my recent farm work. The red-haired man beside me, despite his minions being knocked down, seemed unfazed, continuing to stare at me. I expected this outcome, but I've got a special gift for you today, he said, already putting on a pair of goggles he'd pulled out of nowhere. They were dark, and within seconds, a light flashed, and a robot, about 3 meters tall, appeared from the eaves of the nearby wall. It leaped down the next moment, landing with a thud, kicking up a cloud of dust. Take this. This is a natural-shaped mecha I secretly got from my dad. It's a replacement for the lumberjacks. The thing he was talking about was a gigantic robot, about 10 feet tall. It was now striding towards me, step by step. When it reached me, it suddenly extended its left arm. With a crackling sound, it transformed into a massive chainsaw, whirring at high speed. The next moment, the robot closed in, swinging its massive right arm forward from top to bottom, striking me squarely. I froze for a moment, the heavy blow knocking me back a meter before I regained my footing. Then, as if to press on, the robot raised its left chainsaw and slashed down. The action forced me to instinctively roll, but I still managed to get a small cut on my shoulder. Oh? I accidentally swung it out. This thing is really hard to operate, the red-haired man said, flicking his goggles. His special gift really shocked me. It almost cost me my life, that's what happened. This guy, something was wrong with him. Whatever the problem was, I didn't care. In an instant, I ran in the other direction. That robot, nearly 10 feet tall, according to the news, could easily take down a full-grown North American brown bear. The red-haired man in front of me must have broken some rules. Normal mechas are not allowed to attack humans. Not only did he do that, he also equipped it with weapons. Regardless of whether they were for felling trees or not, he shouldn't use them to attack humans. Really? You actually ran away. I'd rather not use weapons against you. His eyepiece flashed, and the giant figure sheathed the chainsaw wrapped around its right arm, transforming into an arm. Use your fists, coward. If you get hurt, just treat it as an accident. Don't run, Xingze. The giant figure pursued me. Its speed was indeed quite fast. I ran, and based on the news reports of its astonishing speed, I knew I would be caught up. But he didn't seem to have much experience operating it. One thing, remember, don't tell my father about this, or I'll kill you. As he said this, even as I ran, I couldn't help but wonder if I should report this to his father after my escape. I knew his father. He was a local landowner and certainly had plenty of money. Those who could afford a natural mech were usually not poor, with one costing no less than 2 million. While it might be impossible for an ordinary citizen like me to afford one, it was probably not a problem for the red-haired man. As I fled, I unknowingly ran to an old school building behind the school's backyard. Because the mech was too large, it wouldn't be able to fit through the main door. So, I took cover inside. Then, I stepped onto the old, wooden planks of the old school building and walked forward. Less than 10 meters, a piece of floorboard cracked beneath my feet. My feet sank in, and the ground beneath me collapsed, forming a massive pit. Like a trap, I fell into the pit along with the crumbling ground. With a second crack, I and the shattered plank fell into a dark place. Chapter 2 Special Stone. I was probably somewhere in the basement of the old school building. I glanced around briefly to confirm. Then I looked up at the entrance. It was over 5 meters away, far too far for a human leap. Giving up on the idea of returning the way I came, I looked around again. It was pitch black, the path narrow, and a gloomy place. But the only option now was to head toward the basement passage. There would likely be stairs leading up there. This was an old school building, after all, but I'd never been there before. I was the unlucky person who'd ended up here after being chased and stepped on the old floorboards and collapsed. So, I used my phone's light to continue forward, following the passage straight ahead. After a while, I reached a fork in the road. After a moment's hesitation, I decided to go left. As I continued walking, I suddenly saw a glittering object in the corner. Unsure of what it was, curiosity piqued my interest. I approached the glowing object and examined it closely. It was a stone radiating with light. Why was the stone glowing in the pitch-black basement? Was it some kind of luminous stone? I didn't understand it at the moment, but the stone's radiance drew me closer. The closer I got, the brighter it seemed to radiate. It was a bluish-yellow light, its color subtly shifting with each flicker. I wondered what was going on. Curiosity, and the fear of the unknown, completely overcame me. I didn't know why, but I reached out and touched the stone's surface. As I touched it, I felt an inexplicable sensation. Could it be the feeling of the stone? I was puzzled. I watched silently, and suddenly, a pulsing sensation of life came from within the stone, a faint beating of life, like a heart. The stone's surface was indeed very solid. What was going on? Was it an illusion? As I thought about this, My palm was eroded by the light, and it seemed to glow with it. Centered in the center of my palm, the stone, slightly larger than a basketball, seemed to transform into liquid substance, flowing into my palm like water. Water does tend to flow downward, but the palm of my hand shouldn't be a channel, nor the ocean. What's going on? With the influx of energy, my body felt something strange. A strange feeling spread through me, an indescribable feeling, as if I were being invaded. Light suddenly spread from my body, like a flower blooming, and my body suddenly shone with an inexplicably dazzling radiance. I couldn't help but shield my eyes with my hands, and the light disappeared after a few seconds. The basement was once again shrouded in darkness. I looked around but found nothing unusual. I stretched briefly, but nothing changed. I looked at my hand, but it didn't feel like a hole. I took a few steps, but everything was normal. After pausing for a moment, I decided to find a way to leave here first. I continued walking forward in the passage. After a short distance, I finally came to a staircase. Climbing the stone steps, I smoothly reached the first floor of the old school building. I stepped cautiously onto the worn wooden floor, careful not to stumble again, and slowly made my way toward the large door ahead. Reaching the door, I reached out and opened it, peering out. Outside, I saw the back entrance of the old school building. I walked around the old school building until I reached the main entrance. There was no one around. The Mecha that had chased me to the old school entrance had also vanished. After quite some time, the red-haired man must have given up and gone home. After confirming this, I headed straight for the passage, heading home after school. However, as I reached the narrow passage a second time, I saw another figure standing in the middle. This time, it wasn't the red-haired man from before, but a middle-aged, slightly overweight man wearing sunglasses and a black shorts and brown pants. The passage was narrow, and the man stood in the middle, his gaze fixed on me from behind his sunglasses, as if he had something to ask of me. "Student up front, I have something to tell you. Could you please help me?" the man in sunglasses said, beginning to walk towards me. "What's going on?" I asked. The man before me looked a little suspicious. I wondered if I'd run into more trouble. "Can you summon that thing, that one, this one?" He pointed toward the sky, and I looked in the direction I was headed. I could see a cloud of air gathering above the man's head. In a flash, the air transformed into a giant, about the same height as the natural Mecha I'd seen before. About 10 feet tall, but this time, it was floating in midair. I was a little surprised. "You must have come into contact with a special stone just now, right? It's called a raw stone. Those possessed by that stone gain this kind of power," he said this. Not long ago, after coming into contact with a strange stone in the basement, it merged with his body. "That's true, but how do you know that?" I asked, puzzled. "I'm a searcher, searching for people like you around the world. I want to tell you what this stone is all about. It's not just me, there are many in other areas too. When the original stone and the person it chooses merge, a unique energy fluctuation is generated. That fluctuation has a wide range, so I discovered you," the man in sunglasses explained, tapping his glasses. Is that so? This is quite complicated." I understood a little bit of what he said, and then fell silent. "So, the original stone is capable of summoning a being like the giant floating above the man's head. So, can't I do something similar right now?" As I thought about this, a patch of land next to us began to shake slightly. A moment later, it seemed to collapse. A huge arm stretched out from the earth, and a strange creature with human-like greenish-yellow skin crawled out. "Oh, did you do it? Yours emerged from the ground, so it's a ground type. There are many other types, but it's too troublesome to explain them all. You'll figure it out later." He stopped talking mid-sentence, which was really infuriating. So we were silent for a moment. "Rather than that, let me see your student's ID." "Student's ID? You're a student, right? If you don't have it with you, I'll go home with you to get it. It's not strange. I'm going to sign you up for the Mecha Training Academy. Don't you want to go?" "Mecha Academy? What's that?" "You've been in the countryside for so long, you know Mechas. They're the most advanced technology in the world right now. Don't you want to go and see it?" I wanted to go, I thought. I'd heard a lot about the Mecha Academy online and on TV. However, I didn't have a very good impression of Mechas. After all, they took something away from me. But now it appeared before my eyes again, like an opportunity. Go or not, think about it carefully. I probably need some motivation to take a new step forward. I see. I have my student's ID. I said this, pulling it out of my pocket and handing it to the man in sunglasses. He looked at it, ran it through a tiny scanner, scanned it, and then handed it back to me. Okay, here's the contact number for the Mecha Academy. If you have any questions, just call and ask, the man in sunglasses said, handing over a business card. There was also a description of the Mecha Academy and an admission notice. Is that so? Then I can go tomorrow. Yes, if nothing unexpected happens. Really? Then I wish you good luck, the man in sunglasses said casually. He waved his hand, leaped onto the floating giant, and flew away on it. Chapter 3 Farewell. After a tumultuous evening, I walked the short distance along the path leading to my home. Next, I had decided where I was going, the new Century City. Most of the Mecha Academies in the world were located there, so I would quickly prepare for the enrollment procedures. Upon arriving home, I took out the admission notice and related documents the man in sunglasses had given me and reviewed them. After reading through them, I realized that residents in my area would be assigned to different academies based on their location. My next destination was the Mecha Training Academy in the East District of the new Century City. After confirming my location, I quickly called the school staff. Through the phone conversation, I used my student's ID to register, and the person on the other end quickly identified Xingze. Starting tomorrow, you can come to the training academy to begin your Mecha training, a middle-aged voice said. I responded, and the call ended. That uncle was incredibly efficient. My name was already registered the moment I got home. I hadn't expected it to be done so quickly. I'd heard about the Mecha Training Academy before. They only accepted those who met the requirements for Mecha pilots, generally under 20 years old. It was a training academy specifically for training new recruits. Unlike regular driving schools, their qualification certificates held far greater value, granting admission to more advanced Mecha academies. A driver's license only allowed you to pilot a basic Mecha, but beyond that, the program involved much more. Even though I wasn't much of a professional, I'd learned a little from watching TV and the internet. Becoming a professional Mecha operator, known in this world as a Mecha user, was a trend. After learning this, I stopped hesitating and decided to withdraw from school the next day. There was no point in staying here until graduation. There wasn't anything I could do here. Having made that decision, the next day, I prepared my withdrawal documents and headed for the school for my last day. Then, as usual, I attended classes in class. After savoring the feeling of my last morning, noon quickly arrived. I took advantage of my lunch break to visit the principal's office and explain my withdrawal documents and reasons to him. Really? It's a spacious place there. Go ahead, Xingze, okay, and just like that, the principal easily approved, and my plan finally came to fruition today. It went incredibly smoothly, and I knew I had truly spent my last morning at this school. After finishing my final lunch in the cafeteria, I spent my last afternoon as usual. At dusk, when almost all the students had left, I gazed out the window for a moment before departing from this school, the place I'd been for 6 years. I reached the school gate, took one last look at the school in the setting sun, and then left. I passed through the gate and followed the path leading to my home. But before I got far, 2 figures appeared blocking the path ahead, one large, one small. I recognized the smaller one on the right. He was the red-haired man from earlier. Xingze, don't think you can get away today, he said, gesturing to a burly man standing next to him, about 2 meters tall. Seeing this, the man began to advance towards me. This guy's a wrestling expert. So, are you worried about breaking a few bones, Xingze? As the red-haired man spoke, the burly man in a dark blue tight stepped in front of me. He immediately stretched out a hand and grabbed my neck. His sturdy hand gripped my neck, and I followed suit, grabbing his. For a moment, we were locked in a stalemate, one hand gripping the other's neck, the other unused. Hey, be careful with your strength, don't accidentally kill him, the red-haired man, watching from behind, said. We locked chakra holds, holding our breath while doing so. Whoever gave way first would likely collapse. This lasted for about 10 seconds, and the tall man's face gradually flushed. Then, a look of unbearable pain appeared, and I let go. He suddenly dropped to half crouch and began panting frantically. What wrestling expert? He's nothing but an amateur, I said, dismissively walking past the stupid giant and continuing on my way. The giant didn't put much pressure on me earlier. I don't know if it was because he was too weak, or if something had changed in me. I glanced at my hands, they felt stronger than ever. Meanwhile, the red-haired man standing directly in front of me, Lin Hongguang, had unknowingly donned the goggles he'd worn yesterday, the controls for controlling the natural-shaped mecha. A green light flickered beside the dark goggles, and suddenly, a massive humanoid figure, nearly 10 feet tall, leaped down from the eaves nearby. I brought it here too today. Are you scared? Really? I'll use these massive arms to give you a good beating, the red-haired man said, controlling the robot, cupping his fists, and then strode towards me. His gait was still a bit comical. I'm afraid he's just a novice, unmanned. I could have considered bypassing the robot and attacking him directly, but I abandoned that idea this time. I wanted to show him my recently acquired new powers and see just how powerful he was. With this in mind, I began to call upon the spirit within the stone. It had worked once before, so this time shouldn't fail. I felt confident, and even failure was okay. The next moment, the ground in front of the red-haired man's robot began to shake. The shaking gradually lifted the ground, and a massive humanoid figure emerged. It stood up majestically, its height barely inferior to that of the work mech. I'd learned its name before, KO. It was a turquoise-green hue, covered in a green outer garment that only covered its left shoulder armor and the flower-like wrist guard. Its surroundings were outlined like leaves. Its face was humanoid, somewhat similar to that of the mech. What is this thing? Do you have one too? The red-haired man was momentarily startled, but then his gaze shifted, a flicker of excitement. He controlled the massive figure like a remote-controlled truck, charging towards me and immediately striking the cyan-yellow figure in front of me. Seeing the approaching figure swinging its fist, the cyan-yellow figure ducked, easily dodging the rather comical blow. He immediately seized the yellow mech by the waist and lifted it upward, instantly hoisting it above his head. With a force, he flung it forward. In a seemingly smooth and graceful movement, the mech flew straight up nearly 10 meters, tumbling several times on the ground, appearing somewhat distraught. How could this be? The red-haired man frowned at the sight. He tried to get the yellow mech to its feet again, but the 10-foot-tall giant before him simply struggled on the ground, unable to turn over like a tortoise on its back. He looked like a complete novice, barely able to even stand. Then I made the turquoise giant vanish. It happened in a flash. It vanished in mid-air like a flash of light, leaving only a few pieces of rubble scattered on the ground. The way it appeared, it was like an incarnation. At that moment, I felt a slight sense of fatigue, but for now, it was nothing. For now, I silently looked at the red-haired man before me, then decided to move forward. It was time to put an end to my relationship with him. You're getting cocky, you idiot. I'll show you what I can do, the red-haired man said, not even bothering to remove his goggles, charging straight at me with a fist. He rushed towards me with a punch, but I spun and dodged, then retaliated, striking him in the face. He instantly stumbled backward, tumbling to the ground. It was like a counterpunch in boxing, probably taking the combined force of my own forward momentum and my fist. Damn it, I stared at him, speaking after a moment. Let me tell you something. Starting tomorrow, I'm going to the New Century City, so goodbye, country bumpkin. New Century City? Isn't that the most advanced place? You're actually going there, country bumpkin. Even though the red-haired man was lying on the ground, he smiled this time, as if relieved. That's right, I don't plan to come back here. I didn't look at his face, just one last glance at the school before starting to walk away. Xingze, wait, the red-haired man smiled and suddenly called my name. You'd leave? I knew it a long time ago. He climbed up from the ground, perhaps a little dizzy from the impact, but he managed to stand firmly. This village is too small. You'll have to leave eventually. I know I can't accommodate you. I stared at him in silence, wondering what else he wanted. That's right, that place. There are more incredible things there. Go, really? Even if you didn't ask, I would go. So goodbye, red-haired man Lin Hongguang. I turned and walked away. Wait, remember yesterday? It was an accident. I didn't mean to hit you with a chainsaw. The red-haired man saw me leaving and said hurriedly, that one? I didn't take it seriously. Yesterday's gift was indeed an amazing gift, but it was also thanks to it that I was able to take a new step forward. I walked along the road leading to my home under the setting sun, taking in the scenery, and soon arrived at my home. It was where I lived alone, and from now on it would be empty. After packing my luggage, I sat quietly in this house, waiting for the final moment to come. Nothing happened. The next day, after I cleaned up the house, I prepared to leave. I had discussed my future plans with my parents the previous night, and everything went smoothly. No one raised any objections. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I stood at the door, took a last look at the house, turned around and walked away, heading for the airport. Chapter 4 Training Academy. The new century capital, a city covering approximately 60,000 square kilometers, is home to the world's most advanced science and technology. Naturally, the most iconic of these technologies is the natural-shaped mecha. After disembarking from the plane and arriving at the city's main gate, I was greeted by a forest of towering buildings. It was far more prosperous than the cities Xingze had previously lived in, let alone the countryside. Upon arriving, I could first use my phone's location system to locate the Mecha Academy in the East District. After a quick check, I simply called a taxi. With that in mind, I hailed a taxi and told the driver the location. He understood immediately, making it a breeze. After a 15-minute ride, I arrived at the Academy's gate. At first glance, it looked 10 times more luxurious than a rural school. After exiting the car, I stopped at the Academy's gate to contact the relevant personnel and quickly received admission information. I walked to the gate, verified my student's ID, and was admitted without a hitch. After greeting the teachers, I officially joined the Mecha training school. A new rookie pilot has arrived, that's how it should be. On my first day, I was assigned to a class of students who had joined around the same time. Initially, each student received a training mecha. Initially, I had no experience with mechas. I first learned some basic knowledge, including the basics, before entering the formal mecha training program. Because I was a novice, newcomers were initially able to operate the mechas using not only brainwaves but also remote controls. Brainwave control is the most common method, while remote control is suitable for beginners and those who simply want to use the mechas as a daily aid without further development. Brainwave control technology has reached a very high level. Once a person masters the basics, the mechas can perform all the actions a normal person can. Secondly, to activate the mecha, one must wear a pair of specially designed goggles called a mechanical control device. This allows the mechas to be activated through methods like sound waves or fingerprint authentication. Mecha training here lasts 3 months. After that, there's an exam. Those who pass receive a mecha license and become official mecha pilots, or mecha users. Day after day, each day imparts slightly different knowledge to me and the other students. The teacher's teaching methods are relatively simple, and I can understand them. A month later, while interacting and practicing with some students, I heard something. Most of those admitted to this academy pass a rigorous exam, but I wasn't one of them. I was recommended by the older man in sunglasses and didn't even have an interview. It's understood that the small number of those who didn't pass the interview are, like me, special humans who possess the ability to summon primordial stone spirits. These individuals, known as primordial stone holders, are widely known in this new century city. They can summon humanoid or bizarre monsters from natural materials like air, water, and earth. These special creatures truly possess powers comparable to those of natural mechas, and possess many incredible abilities. One of the discoveries was the fact that the spirit within the original spirit, could possess a mecha. The spirit possessing a mecha meant that what used to require brainwave control could now be freely controlled. Just like controlling the body. This greatly simplified the process, which was truly remarkable. That said, this was only for a novice. Experienced mecha operators, even using brainwaves, were far superior to a novice like me. After all, someone who had mastered all the operational techniques was about the same as someone who could freely control their body, though each had their flaws. It's worth mentioning that I heard about this from a young man of my age named Qin Liang. He couldn't help but thank him for sharing these benefits. I wonder if they had a close relationship in a past life, but he was a good man and, from the outset, was recognized as one of the most talented individuals in this academy. I've personally witnessed his prowess over the past 2 weeks. He's a skilled man. While ordinary people are learning to operate ground-based mechas, he's already piloting sky-based mechas. While this was partly due to him being a gemstone holder like me, that person's talent was indeed immense. It was also during my conversation with him that I realized I could possess a natural mecha. The students at this academy mostly discussed basic brainwave manipulation, and didn't mention possession much. After being able to possess a spirit, my mecha control skills improved significantly. Now I understand why gemstone holders are recommended for admission. However, there are some caveats. While possessing a mecha with a spirit means controlling it with my own consciousness, which is certainly convenient, the downside is that if my mecha hits something too hard, I'll still feel pain. While I won't be truly injured, the pain will be fully felt in my body, and so, a month and a half passed. I first experimented with flying mechas and other specialized mecha types. 2 months later, the other students and I decided on the types of mechas we would pilot. At the end of the 3rd month, the final waiting phase began. The mecha exam, the final test of the month, would determine the students' future and whether they could successfully obtain their mecha licenses. I had a solid grasp of the basics, so I continued practicing just in case. Then the end of the month arrived. The mecha I ultimately chose for the battle was a ground-type mecha. Ground-type mechas, like their original stones, are ground-type, and their characteristics are strong defense, resistance, and strength. Then came the final exam. I passed the basic trials and defeated a fellow ground-type mecha user, completing the exam, and so, after 3 months, I successfully passed the mecha license exam and became a full-fledged mecha user. It was undoubtedly a new beginning. Afterward, students who completed the exam would be assigned to various Mecha Academies in the new Century City. I was selected that same day by the Holy Water Spirit Academy and would enter there in early October. Before then, I had to find housing. My previous training academy was all resident, so I hadn't considered that for 3 months. But things would change. I had to think about finding a place to live on my own. It was 2:30 p.m., since I'd have to go back to school every day. So now was the time to consider housing. I called my parents again to update them on my recent situation, including my plans to attend Holy Water Spirit Academy. Then I received some surprising news. An acquaintance's address was near the 7th district of Holy Water Spirit Academy. It was my younger sister. We were siblings. 2 years younger than me. She lived in a student apartment in the East District. According to my father, she'd been in the city for nearly 3 years. It wasn't my parents' words, so I wasn't sure how long it had been. My sister and I hadn't seen each other for years, 5, if I remember correctly. I might not recognize her now. After all, she grew up here, while I grew up in the countryside. After contacting them, my father sent me the address, and my sister's family, through my mother, was able to find out the situation. That evening, I used my phone to find the student apartment building where my sister lived. Her room number was 302. I walked up to the 3rd floor, took a few steps to the right, and quickly found room 302. Gazing at the door before me, I took a deep breath and reached for the doorbell. It was a bit stressful to be meeting my sister after so many years. I stood at the door and waited for a moment before it opened. Chapter 5 Brothers and Sisters. The door opened, and a young girl appeared before me. She had long brown hair with a few curls at the sides, and she wore a pale yellow dress with the same lace pattern. She wasn't short, much taller than the younger sister I'd known before, so it was definitely her. "Long time no see," I said, gazing at her for a moment. You're..." The girl looked at the boy before her, a hint of confusion in her eyes as she uttered, "Who?" It was like that for people who'd lived together for nearly a decade. I still remembered her face. It might have matured, but it was definitely the younger sister. I immediately felt like pinching her cheek. But that was only in the past. "Don't you remember? I'm your older brother," I replied after a pause. "Hey, is that you? Come in first," my younger sister said, turning and beginning to walk through the door. Her name was Li Lanayu, and she was 16 years old. I followed her, and together we walked into the room, through the hallway, and into the adjacent kitchen, and into the hall. Looking around, it was a rather large house. Was it just a student apartment? It was much larger than the country house I used to live in. I hadn't really planned to stay here any longer. The more realistic thought was that after dinner, I'd have to find a place to stay. Xingze, it's almost time for dinner. I'm cooking. Wait a minute, she was cooking. This 16-year-old girl knew how to cook, which was understandable if she lived alone, since I could do it myself. Really? Do you need my help? No. Following my sister's words, I sat down on the sofa to the side and waited. Several dishes were already set on the dining table across from her. It looked like they were in the process of being cooked. After a while, the meal was almost ready. We both sat down at the table, my sister now sitting across from me, while I reached for my chopsticks. "Let's eat," Lanyu said. I replied, picking up a dish with my chopsticks that looked quite difficult to make. I swished it between my lips, and the incredible flavor wafted through my mouth. That's very well done, really? But after all, I've lived here alone for almost 3 years, so it's normal for me to know these things. Lan Yu showed a satisfied smile. 3 years? I've only lived alone for nearly half a year. Really, Xingze, do you remember that I asked you to come here 2 years ago? Said my sister Lan Yu. I still remember, I thought for a moment and replied, why didn't you come then, that time? Because it was okay before, and now I have no reason to stay there. 2 years ago, Lan Yu contacted my parents and called me from the countryside to go to the new century capital, but at that time I was living with my grandfather. Why? Do you find it annoying to have me around? Lan Yu asked. No, I don't. It's none of your business. I just haven't had the chance to come over, that's all. So, are you planning on living with me from now on? Yes, if you can take me in, I'd do so, of course, that's fine. This house isn't anything special, but it's huge. With that, my sister said, and from now on, I'd be living here. I breathed a sigh of relief. The atmosphere had been a bit tense earlier, but now I didn't have to worry about finding a place to live. After that, I helped my sister clear the utensils from the dining table. It was getting dark, and it was probably time to think about where to sleep. My sister introduced the rooms in the house. The one down the hall was hers, and the other room next to her was unoccupied, so it would probably be mine. Brother, you'll live in this room from now on. Is that okay? Lan Yu said. Then she gently opened the door, peeked inside, and suddenly closed it again. Her movements were so swift that I was curious. What's wrong? No, that room isn't cleaned yet. Let's go in tomorrow. You look like you saw cockroaches, rats, or something. Let me see too. I'm not afraid of those things. My sister used to be really afraid of those things, I said, stepping past her, ready to open the door. At that moment, even though my sister grabbed my arm, I still opened the door out of curiosity. What appeared before me was a fairly spacious room. It was indeed a mess, just as she'd described. There were no cockroaches, rats, or spiders to be seen. However, there were broken toys on the left side of the bed. The bed itself seemed to be cracked, and I could see the springs. How was that done? Playing with friends? It felt like a fight. But that was probably the result of a venting of anger. Sorry, I really shouldn't have opened it, I said, closing the door. I told you not to look. That was actually a year ago. I'm not the same anymore, I understand. Don't be angry. I knew that about you. At that moment, my sister, Lan Yu, flung open the door to the room and walked in. At this point, she had nothing left to hide. She walked over to the bed and said, Really? Never mind. Brother, come help and get rid of this bed. As Lan Yu spoke, she began to drag the bed, peeling back the sheets, trying to move it out. Xingze immediately entered, grabbed the other end of the bed, and lifted the foam mattress. Okay, move it outside. The two of them, each carrying one side, headed out of the room. It seemed like a normal move, but my sister's strength seemed a bit too much for her petite frame. Although I had some thoughts, I kept them to myself. We dragged the mattress to the hallway and left it there. Okay, let's go buy a new one right away. My sister clapped her hands and rushed back into the room. I followed her back. I followed Lan Yu into her room. She was working on her computer. From the screen, it looked like she was shopping online. Brother, which one do you want to choose? No, I'll leave that to you, really. I see, I didn't have much experience with these things. Since we were still in the countryside, it was better to let my sister handle it. She quickly finished and made her choice. She then stood up from her chair, turned around, and said, Next, let's clean the room. It's been a while since we've been in bed. Let's do it together, okay? The two of them set to work tidying up the room. It took them a while to clear out all the unnecessary items, and the room looked much tidier overall. Then, a bell rang outside, someone ringing the doorbell. Are you here? Lan Yu walked to the door and opened it. I followed her. As she walked out, she saw a giant flying in the air. It was a Mecha. Xingze, who had just graduated from the training academy, knew it was a sky-type Mecha. It carried a massive package on its shoulder. Is this your package, Lan Yu from room 302? An electric voice boomed from the Mecha's mouth. Yes, thank you for your hard work. Sorry, there was a small incident along the way and I'm late. Good luck to you. The scheduled time was 30 minutes, but the other party arrived nearly 50 minutes later. 10 minutes late, that's too slow. For Xingze, who had just come from the countryside, it should be too late. After accumulating, the robot, after confirming the situation, reached out and placed the package at Lan Yu's door, then flew away. Okay, put this up. Brother won't have to sleep on the sofa tonight. Great, isn't it, really? That's really good, although I didn't mind sleeping on the sofa. This was the result. Chapter 6 Heading to School. After 2 days, it was finally time for the official school term. Today was our last day off, a Monday. The sky was already getting dark, and it was late afternoon. My sister, Lan Yu, and I were both students. I hadn't started school yet, though. It was around this time Lan Yu was supposed to be back from school. I was clearly still free. I could have found some books about mechas, but I decided against it. I decided to help my sister with some of the dishes she might need. While I had little cooking skills, I could still do things like peeling vegetables. I did a little bit and then returned to the sofa in the living room. Not long after, Lan Yu opened the door and entered, dressed in a fitted blue and white school uniform. She was a freshman in high school, which was normal, but my sister was actually a little different. Unlike the average student, she was a mecha pilot, someone who piloted mechas. This city had several specialized Mecha Academies, and my sister attended the more famous one, the Holy Silver Academy. Brother, Lan Yu looked at me and said, "Are you back? Well, brother, why aren't you in the same school as me? Seriously, if you had told me earlier, it wouldn't have been so troublesome in the future," my sister grumbled after changing her shoes at the shoe rack and headed towards the kitchen. It's true that being in different schools is somewhat inconvenient for just the two of us, but it's not a big deal. My sister then went to have dinner. It was early, but that wasn't a big deal. I was actually quite satisfied. Over half an hour later, dinner was on the table, and we all sat down. Eating as a family is something I haven't experienced in a while, and I guess I'm just getting used to it. Brother, tomorrow's your first time at the Mecha Academy, right? Lan Yu asked, sitting across from me. Is that so, really? Brother, you're also an original stone holder, right? Lan Yu continued. I'd heard the term original stone holder mentioned by a genius at the training academy. It refers to a person who can summon a special creature with their consciousness. Well, do you know all this? Of course I know more than my brother. After all, I've lived here for nearly 3 years, and I'm also a gem holder, so that's why I think so. Really? Well, if you have any questions from now on, just ask me. Okay, I'll do that. After that, dinner was over, and the day passed uneventfully. The next day, I was leaving for Holy Water Spirit Academy. According to regulations, I was supposed to arrive at school at 8 a.m. I had already learned the distance from my home to the academy, and since it was my first day there, it was best to leave early. With that in mind, he left at 7:20. As he reached the door, he ran into his sister, Lan Yu. It looked like she was planning to go to school at that time, already dressed in a neat uniform. As I changed into my outdoor shoes and prepared to leave, I said goodbye to my sister before leaving. Well, I'll see Lan Yu tonight, okay? Be careful of Xingze on the way. I nodded and headed ahead towards the Holy Water Spirit Academy. Along the way, I passed streets lined with tall buildings. Above these towering buildings, numerous sky tunnels formed a scenic landscape. From the entrances of each tunnel, natural-shaped mechas would occasionally leap out and take flight. It took me nearly 15 minutes to reach the gates of the prestigious Holy Water Spirit Academy. I stood there in a daze, gazing at the enormous academy. It was 10 times larger than the rural school combined, and even more spacious than the previous training academy. A number of scattered students were heading inside, all wearing white shirts with green stripes at the corners. In contrast, I and the other incoming freshmen were all dressed in casual clothes, no school uniforms, after all. According to the acceptance notice I'd received earlier, I was supposed to gather at the west entrance with the other freshmen for the entrance ceremony at 9 o'clock. Despite these instructions, I had no idea where to go when I arrived at the academy. I had no choice but to silently follow some young men in casual clothes. After a few silent steps, someone suddenly put their arm around my shoulder. Turning around, I saw a young man wearing a dark green jacket and a white shirt. He came up to me and extended a hand. Hello. Xingze, you're here early today. Qin Liang, is that you? I still recognized his face. Well, let's meet at the new student welcome area on the east side. Do you know the way? That's perfect. I'm lost. Lost? Aren't there directions written at the entrance to the campus? Is that so? It turned out to be written at the entrance, but I hadn't noticed. So, I followed Xingze toward the academy's east entrance. It wasn't long before we reached a new student reception area, where many of the new students who had joined during this period were already gathered. Based on their region and ability assessment, those who passed the assessment were assigned to various Mecha Academies to begin their new Mecha careers. Meanwhile, the female teacher at the new student reception area was counting the names of the students present. In front of her, students lined up one by one. Xingze, let's go too. Yes, I nodded and continued walking alongside Xingze to join the line. After signing in, we took our seats nearby to wait. It wasn't time yet, and many new students hadn't arrived yet. While waiting in a rather upscale classroom, new students arrived one after another. After a while, almost everyone was there. A female teacher at the front of the room explained the upcoming procedures for the new students and the upcoming entrance ceremony. Afterwards, under the guidance of their teachers, the freshmen began to gather in the college's student conference hall. According to the instructions, the entrance ceremony would begin at 9 o'clock, and now the time was almost up. Led by their female teacher, the freshmen were already waiting by the curtain to the left of the stage, ready to step out from behind when their names were called. Suddenly, music started playing. An old man wearing glasses, with white hair and a thick beard, who was sitting on the podium, took the microphone, coughed, and said in a deep voice, "Next, the entrance ceremony will begin." Immediately, thousands of students below the stage began to applaud in unison, and the old man continued, "This year's freshmen, like those in recent years, all possess considerable talent and ability. Their arrival will make our school more lively and bring more help to the future." After a pause, the old man continued, "Next, please welcome the freshmen. First, there are the newcomers from the East District Mecha Academy, headed by Xingze, and the other 15 students who also came from the East District Mecha Academy." Hearing the sound, Xingze, who was in front of me, walked out from behind the curtain under the guidance of the teacher next to him, and walked towards the arena. I followed him, and the students behind me also walked in neat steps behind me. We lined up and walked to the arena. Following Xingze step by step to the left side of the old man's podium, the freshmen all turned to face the impressive crowd below. They were all applauding enthusiastically, and many girls were gazing at us with pretentious eyes. They were probably looking at the handsome young man in front of me, Xingze, a freshman with both handsome appearance and exceptional abilities. Xingze glanced toward the audience, and many girls began to wave. He remained remarkably calm, chuckling softly before returning to the podium. He gave a gentle wave to the audience, then, as the first to greet the chairman, we all headed back to the podium, awaiting the arrival of the next students. Xingze must be a decent guy, but he's incredibly popular. I stood silently on the stage, waiting for the ceremony to conclude. He was probably the center of attention. The other 14 people, including me, were supporting characters. Incidentally, regarding the ranking order, according to the assessment, I was second, so I stood behind Xingze. After the East District, there's the South District. This season, only students from the Southeast and South Districts are enrolled. All students should be high achievers, as this academy is one of the most prestigious Mecha Academies. After self-introductions were completed elsewhere, the ceremony was almost over. Sometime later, we freshmen gathered at the assembly area for a final pre-enrollment briefing. Then came the class placement. This time, there were 32 students, too few to even fit into a single class. Since our enrollment wasn't in the traditional September, we were assigned to various classes. After the briefing, we received our class placement lists and were ready to go to class. My class was A13. There were 2 other people assigned to this class, a boy who had previously trained in the same academy as me and ranked 5th, and a girl from the South District. The 3 of us were led to our respective classes by their homeroom teachers, a young teacher with glasses and short chestnut hair. Chapter 7 Class. It was the beginning of second period. Our homeroom teacher ushered me and 2 other freshmen to the entrance and then walked in alone. She was petite, and though she looked young, she possessed an aura that made one feel unforgivable. After all, this was a prestigious school, and teachers were no jokes. "New students, come in," our homeroom teacher, Mr. Wu Feng, motioned with a glance at the 3 of us at the door. We, with me at the head, walked in one after another. Introductions were in order. I knew it, even a country bumpkin would understand. I raised my head slightly, looked at the strangers, and announced my name, concluding the introductions. The other two people beside me followed suit, Rebo, a fellow East District student with a mushroom-like hairstyle, and Lin Qin, a young woman from the South District with a bronzed complexion and short, light blue hair tied in a ponytail. All three nodded and saluted, concluding the introductions. Some of the classmates below the podium were also discussing something, and some girls were disappointed, perhaps because Qin Lang, the first person to enter, was not among them. "Teacher, can you tell me the ranking order for the new students?" a bespectacled male student asked the teacher nearby. She glanced at the three people in her group. Of course, none of us had any objections. It wasn't private, it had already been made public during the entrance ceremony. With their tacit agreement, Teacher Wu Feng announced, "The boy from the East District, Li Xingze, is second. The girl from the South District, Lin Qin, is fourth. And another boy from the East District, Rebo, is fifth." The students were once again buzzing with discussion. "Wow, those are all pretty high rankings. Stupid, doesn't that mean our class ranking is going to drop again?" After the introductions, I and the other two were assigned seats. I sat in the last row, on the left, near the window. There was a vacant seat there, and that would become my seat from now on. Okay, let's get ready for class. New students don't have textbooks, so you'll need to share one with the students next to you. New ones will arrive tomorrow, so bear with me until then. This classroom had a white electronic desk for each student, along with a white chair. The desk had a flat surface with a display screen, seemingly operable. The desk itself was also movable. Simply by tapping the screen, you could select an option to move the desk. A girl in the front row had taught me this. I quickly completed the operation, and the desk began to maneuver sideways to the right. After a few seconds, it snapped shut with the one next to it. Since I was near the window, I had no choice but to move my desk to the right, where a young woman with long, thick hair sat. "Hello," I said softly. Yes, to my right, a girl with long, thick, black hair glanced over, nodded slightly, and placed her textbook on the table near me. And then it was over. It was a perfectly normal action, and I thought it was perfectly normal. But for some reason, the students around me were all fixated on this. I wondered what was so special about it. Sure, that girl was very cute, but it was only for one day. They weren't going to be jealous, were they? "She's not the same girl as before," a few students were whispering. I didn't know what they were talking about, but it didn't concern me. Anyway, it was best to continue with the class. A few classes went by, and I could understand what the teacher was teaching. It was all knowledge that was easy to grasp once you knew the basics. Before I knew it, my first day had flown by smoothly. It was a relatively smooth day. In the afternoon, the school gave us freshmen our uniforms, which were primarily white with green stripes. We'd be wearing them starting tomorrow. With that, the first day was over, and my initial discomfort with the new place had eased somewhat. It was 4 o'clock in the evening, which was the time when the school was dismissing. I was the type who walked home, and since my home wasn't too far from here, it took about 15 minutes, so a little walk wasn't a big deal. I walked all the way to the entrance of the student apartment building and unlocked it with my key. This was the brand new house I would be living in. The interior was as spacious as ever. This was going to be my future residence. After changing into my slippers, I stepped into the hall. I still hadn't seen Lan Yu. She probably hadn't returned yet. Yesterday, she told me that school there also ends at 4 p.m., but even so, it was a considerable distance farther away. Logically, she should be back later than me. Just like yesterday, after chopping some of the necessary ingredients in my spare time, I settled down on the sofa. I turned on the TV and continued to play for a while until my sister returned. "Ah, brother, you're back so early." "Well, after all, the school here is closer to our house." "That's right. I kind of miss going to your school." Lan Yu looked at me with a hint of regret, then continued, "I'm going to make dinner. Are you hungry?" "Yeah, good." After placing her shoes on the shoe rack, Lan Yu quickly headed for the kitchen. Then, the house fell silent again. Staying in this spacious, air-conditioned home with a sister who knows how to cook, I truly felt like I had entered a new step in my life. "It's ready," so fast. After just a moment of silence, Lan Yu had already placed the food on the table. "It's simple today, just eat." As she said this, I already started eating. Her cooking skills were still as good as the past 2 days. My sister undoubtedly has a great talent. It's delicious. I'll leave the cooking to you every day from now on. Hey, are you praising me again? That's the truth, I said confidently. Lan Yu put on a slightly coy expression, flirting slightly, then asked, how's school going? Is everything okay, brother? Staying in the countryside for so long? Not bad. After dinner, as usual, it was time for another day of leisure. Students and ordinary office workers would probably take a break by this time. My sister and I just sat on the sofa in the hall and watched TV. This was just normal life. The next morning, before the first class, some staff members handed out new books. A thick pile of books appeared before me. A quick glance revealed that 70% of them were about mechas. Then, as the bell rang, the homeroom teacher, a short-haired, childlike-looking teacher, arrived promptly. Okay, class begins. With that, the class began. The homeroom teacher was teaching about the daily uses of mechas. Before even entering this academy, I'd memorized many of the necessary rules, including the dangerous ones. For example, mechas are prohibited from being left unattended, equipped with weapons, or attacking humans. Shortly after class began, I was bored and glanced at the girl in the seat next to me. She was the one I'd shared a textbook with yesterday. I'd unconsciously paid her attention, and then I noticed that her textbook didn't seem to be on her desk. What could be wrong? Maybe she'd forgotten to bring it? In that case, shouldn't I have placed the new book next to her desk? After all, she and I shared the same book yesterday, so since she didn't bring hers today, I should probably just return the favor. Do you need a book? I asked the girl at the next table. Can I? No problem. I handed her the book. That was good. She had a book to read, and honestly, it didn't matter to me whether I attended the class or not. I'd give it to her. With that thought in mind, I quietly sat down in my seat. Just then, the table next to me moved over and rubbed against mine, making a scraping sound. Thank you, the girl said softly. No problem. You lent it to me yesterday, too. I glanced at the girl's desk. On the screen, each student's name, student's ID, and seat number were displayed. I wanted to check her name. My name is Chikuka. Just as I was about to confirm, she softly answered my question. I didn't know if she'd noticed or if it was just a coincidence, but it didn't seem like anything interesting. Really? Chikuka, please give me some advice. Yes, Xingze-san. Our conversation paused as a commotion erupted from the surrounding students. I couldn't help but notice that several people nearby seemed to be looking at us with curious eyes. Voices like, are those two? Are they hooking up? No way, it's only been a day. Unbelievable, seemed to echo. In fact, during lunch break yesterday, I heard some rumors about the girl next door. One was that she was the most gifted student in the class, all was at the top of the class. The other was a strange rumor that had been circulating recently, that the girl was actually cursed, bringing misfortune to anyone of the opposite sex who came into contact with her. I believed the first part, but the second part was completely unreliable. I heard it from classmates, not on purpose. I just happened to hear it yesterday during lunch break. It's been circulating widely in class lately. But in reality, I didn't feel anything was wrong with my interactions with that girl. I've been doing well lately, and I also feel that the girl next to me is a pleasant person. At this moment, Chikuka still sat quietly, as if she were in a beautiful place, listening to the class quietly, and I did the same. Regarding this situation, we both continued the class in silence, and the noise did not last long. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Challenge. After a while, the bell rang, and the homeroom teacher gathered her textbooks and walked out of the classroom. The students began to free themselves. Thank you, Xingze. Nothing. Is the rest of the class okay? Well, I lent that book to someone, so I was just about to go get it. It'll be fine later. Chikuka said this, smoothly operating the electronic screen, moving the desk back to its original position. With light, neat steps, she walked toward the side aisle. She turned left and arrived at her desk in the second row, third row. Just then, the girl from the same class, who was about to leave her seat, bumped into her. She was a girl with short brown hair and a striking outfit. Hello, Zuixu, classmate. Have you taken care of my book? Give it back to me now. Xingze looked at the girl with her usual expression. Book? What are you talking about? You borrowed it yesterday, right? Xingze's dark eyes were fixed on her, which made her pause for a moment. Then she glanced around. It happened that quite a few people were watching. What's wrong? Did you forget to bring it? The crisp voice of the girl came again. Xingze, under pressure, suddenly became furious. She reached into her drawer and pulled out a book. Immediately, she turned it towards Xingze and threw it in her face. No such thing. I'm returning it. From a distance of 3 meters, a rather thick book flew towards her. At that moment, Xingze's gaze shifted. Her bangs obscured her vision, but it was emitting a faint, transparent light. In the air ahead of her, a stream of air appeared, and a purple-blue column materialized, blocking the book. Then, it transformed into a hand and caught it. The book hung in the air for a moment. I don't know if it was an illusion, but it was now back in Xingze's hands. Xingze walked out of the classroom with a look of displeasure on her face. The scene just now did indeed have a lot of supernatural phenomena, but the students in the class didn't react too strongly. At most, they just exclaimed in admiration. I also understand that many students in this academy possess special abilities. To be able to perform that action instantly from that distance was quite impressive in my opinion. It's no wonder that Xingze is hailed as the most talented. After the girl left, Xingze picked up the book and turned to walk towards her seat. The classmates on the side looked on in confusion. After Xingze returned to her seat, the commotion subsided. Well, was it taken by force? I asked. Yes, but I've got it back. The person just now was a girl from the same class. Taking someone else's book was a pointless act, so it was probably stolen secretly, Chikuka explained in a tactful way. As for why the girl did that, I don't know. Classes will continue, and after lunch, there will be practical classes in the afternoon, focusing on mecha operation. This academy specializes in training mecha operators, so there will be more of these practical classes, which I don't mind. After lunch in the cafeteria, at the end of lunch break, I was about to return to class A13. On the way, I happened to see the girl with waist-length black hair again. Chikuka was ahead, but the presence of several men in front of her seemed to prevent her from moving forward. Unsure of what was going on, I edged closer. Among those people, the man standing before Xingze had 3 green stripes across the chest of his uniform. A sign that he was a senior. You're the one bullying my cousin? Damn it. Don't think just because you're stronger you can bully the weaker. Come to the duel arena after school, okay? Potential reserve? Let's exchange mecha martial arts, aren't you? The man with short brown hair standing before Xingze said. Xingze silently looked at him, saying nothing. This is an invitation from a senior. Don't you know you have to respect your elders in school? For some reason, Xingze looked as if she didn't want to pay attention to the man in front of her, but the fierce senior didn't seem to be planning to leave. I observed for a moment and felt like going over to help her. Seniors, what are you doing surrounding a junior in broad daylight? I walked over from beside Xingze and said to the man in the middle, who is probably Xingze's cousin. Who are you? I'm her classmate. Class is about to start. Don't block other people's classroom doors, huh? Pretty arrogant. What do you want to say? The man in the middle suddenly showed an annoyed expression that resembled Xingze's. He tugged at my collar and glared at me. The next moment, a look of surprise crossed his face, and his body gradually bent forward. At that moment, I accidentally hit the man in the stomach with my knee. Senior, don't touch me. The man slowly knelt down, clutching his stomach, looking a little uncomfortable. At this moment, the 2 people beside him prepared to rush over. At that moment, the man in the middle suddenly reached out his hands to stop me, saying, "Don't do it." Then he slowly stood up again, facing me, and continued, "You seem to be a ground type. Any disputes in this school will be resolved through mecha duels. Do you understand? Come to the A1 dueling arena after school, okay?" He glared at me as he spoke, and for some reason, it seemed as if any problem should be resolved in the dueling arena. No problem. I had no intention of using violence. I just wanted to push him away, but I didn't expect him to fall. It was an instinctive reaction. I shouldn't have used too much force. My name is Zhu Chang. See you after school. With a cold snort, the man in the middle, Zhu Chang, left with his 2 minions. Class was about to start, and I headed towards classroom A13, where many people were still watching. After the 3 left, they came over. One of them said, "Wait, Classmate Xingze, that guy named Zhu Cheng is indeed a Mecha user with special skills among the third graders. The person who spoke was D. Rebo, the fifth student I'd been with at the training academy not long ago. What's a special skill, don't you know? It's a unique skill that surpasses that of ordinary Mecha pilots, a move usually only possessed by those with the original stone. Really? I heard that and prepared to return to my seat. I'd find out what it was after school. Back in class, I found a few male classmates nearby talking to me about Zhu Cheng. He sounded like he was quite skilled among the third graders. Incidentally, this academy is a 5-year system. Students with excellent grades might graduate in just 3 years, while those with less than 5 might not even finish. A moment later, the bell rang, signaling the start of class, and the students returned to their seats. Thank you for that, Xingze. I'm not really interested in a duel. Just then, Xingze from the next table came over to me and said, no need. Rather than that. Do you know why that person knew I'm a ground Mecha user? Since the girl in front of me was a student with a strong academic record, I tried to ask her. Well, wielders of ordinary ground Mecha origin stones usually possess a strong physique. Maybe that kid caught his attention. Is that so? I've definitely noticed some changes since the origin stone attached itself to me. While my weight hasn't increased much, my strength seems to have increased. It seems to be due to the stone. You don't even know that? You must be a beginner, right? Xingze, think about it after school. It's okay if you don't go. I've thought about it. Even though it's my first time, wouldn't a duel be quite interesting? Really? I warned you. Anyway, if you get beaten, don't blame me. Xingze turned and returned to her seat. In a mech-to-mech duel, at most a mech would be destroyed, so I shouldn't encounter any problems. After all, it was a legitimate duel. So there was no need to worry too much. Then, after the afternoon class, when it was time to leave, I walked out of the classroom as usual, but this time I didn't go home, but headed towards the A1 duel arena. Chapter 9, King Kong's Thing. I entered the gate of the A1 arena and passed through a dark passageway into the arena's interior. I was currently on the second floor platform, surrounded by a crowd of people. They seemed to have heard about the upcoming duel and had come to watch the excitement. My class was no different, with many boys and girls following suit. There was some interest in the second-placed new student. But most people were there to see the man named Zhu Cheng, who was far more famous than I was. Looking down at the arena below, I saw a long-haired arena surrounded by rock formations. This was one of the duel maps called the Rocky Arena. In one corner, Zhu Cheng, the short-haired man, was already standing. He had arrived earlier than me. Seeing this, I descended the stairs and headed towards the other side of the arena. A moment later, I was directly across from the man. Are you here? No more nonsense, let's start the duel. That's what I was planning. At that moment, Zhu Cheng pulled a card from his pocket and swiped it on a machine across from him. It was a student card. With it, one could purchase food within the academy, count it toward grades, and so on, thereby assessing a student's ability level. I also took out my student card and inserted it into the machine. After both parties were ready and authenticated, the duel entered the countdown phase. During this time, our respective mechas were teleported up from the underground tunnel. There were 3 types of mechas. I was using a ground type 1, which had been confirmed during enrollment. We both put on our goggles, which acted like controllers, controlled by brainwaves. My dark red goggles flashed against his dark blue, and the mechas were activated. Normally, one could control them with brainwaves. Actually, for the holder of the primordial stone, that wasn't necessary. I could simply touch the primordial stone spirit to enter the mecha's core. All I had to do was walk up and touch it, that simple gesture. It's okay not to touch? The primordial stone spirit leaves me, becoming the primordial spirit. It can also, in its spirit form, enter the mecha's core. The reason the primordial spirit can enter and control the mecha is precisely because it contains a core, which allows me to freely control it. Its name is Kodaka. I met it when we first merged, but that's all I knew. It's an incredible creature, its green-yellow body incredibly hard, and it usually lies dormant. Immediately after the countdown ended, the duel began. At that moment, the large screen above the duel arena displayed the 2 players' information. Zhu Cheng had a record of 34 wins and 19 losses, while I had a record of 0 wins and 0 losses. Next to each of our portraits was a green HP bar. This bar depleted with effective strikes. When the HP reached 0, it meant the player had lost. This effectively determined the winner while also preventing excessive damage to the mecha. At that moment, many students in the stands cheered and joined in the fun. Suddenly, the blue training mech directly opposite me soared into the air and began closing in. It was a sky type, I confirmed immediately. Sky types are difficult to deal with due to their prolific flight, and there weren't many weapons specifically designed for them. For ground-based mechas, battling sky types presents a significant challenge. The blue mech circled several times in the air, closing in on me. It circled the dark yellow mech in front of me several times. To maintain a good distance from it, I began maneuvering the humanoid, minimizing the chance for it to exploit my weaknesses and wait for a counterattack. Its weapon was a blue battle axe, and it would likely require a close-range attack, as training mechas weren't equipped with powerful ranged weapons. And it wasn't likely to throw the axe at me. Then, the blue mech suddenly accelerated, circling to the side of me in the sky, accelerating even faster, and attempting to strike my mech's back with its axe. A back attack deals twice as much damage as a normal attack. At that moment, the yellow giant seized the opportunity to turn around. Seeing the incoming axe, he executed a precise evasive maneuver, dodging the blow at extremely close range. Then, in the next moment, I caught the opponent's blind spot and grabbed its thick hind leg with one hand. It tried to return to the air, but I prevented it from doing so. Then, using all the strength of my arms and body to sling it, I hurled it against the rocks nearby. With a resounding thud, the rocks shattered under the mecha's impact. Xingze's HP dropped by 20%. Many students in the stands exclaimed in admiration. While the move seemed simple, it required considerable skill to execute the timing. I planned to seize the opportunity and sprinted towards the blue mecha. Just as I was about to strike it with a punch, it fled. It retreated to the side, but I wasn't going to give up. I continued my pursuit, using my powerful leaping ability to leap over the rocks, ready to bring it down once more. But I almost got sent flying. That hurt a little, kid. Let me show you my winning streak trick. Xingze, standing across from me, had a contorted expression. Of course, that was the shared pain, a testament to his being a gemstone holder. Secret technique, Mecha Tornado. The blue mech in the air gathered a chaotic gust of wind around its arms, gradually spreading outward around it, forming a small tornado. It then raised its arms high above its head, brought them together, locked onto my direction, and spiraled towards me. In that instant, it transformed into a whirlwind in the shape of a drill, striking me. It looked like a powerful move, and its speed was incredibly fast. It was hard to look away. Watching the incoming whirlwind, I forced KO to perform a difficult backwards leap, preparing to dodge it with a drastic movement. However, I was still hit. It felt like a close miss, but the whirlwind swirling around the blue mech had completely struck me. With a thud, the dark yellow figure I was controlling was knocked back nearly 10 meters. In that instant, pain shot through my body, my HP drastically reduced. The opponent spun in the air and returned to the sky. He was about to launch a second attack, but KO stood up just in time. Die? The man's eyes lit up with excitement, as if he was determined to kill everyone. He drove the blue mech towards me, surging forward, transforming into a whirlwind once again. I'd better keep my distance. Even with such a powerful move, I can't use it all the time. I used the surrounding rocks to dodge the enemy's pursuit. As soon as the dark yellow mech was out of my sight, the lenses on my goggles were connected to the mech's dynamic vision, allowing remote control. The opponent was also very powerful, penetrating a rock and pursuing me. Even though it would cause damage to his body, he still insisted on doing so. I had a pretty clear idea of what to do in the face of the enemy. After passing a rock ahead, I spun around and circled back to the front of the blue mech. Next, I'd have to use both hands to deal with the terrifying whirlwind. Shoot it away, I gestured to KO. As a ground-based mech, I couldn't match the strength and destructive power of an aerial foe, which would make me even less likely to win. This was undoubtedly a head-on confrontation. Facing the incoming blue figure, KO's fist gleamed with a sharp edge, and then he fiercely slammed into the center of the whirlwind. With a bang, the punch pierced the whirlwind, but it failed to dislodge the opponent. In an instant, the whirlwind and the fist collided, and my HP began to drop steadily. With one hand, I immediately used my palm to block the incoming whirlwind. Then, I clenched my remaining fist and slammed it into the center of the whirlwind again. Another bang. Xingze's HP was reduced to about 1/3 after these two blows. However, Neither strike stopped the whirlwind. The mecha controlled clutched the massive whirlwind with both hands, holding it in place. As my arms struggled against the friction, my HP dropped like a stream. What the hell is that guy doing? Isn't he courting his own destruction? Yes, we should have avoided that, the students in the stands began to discuss, none of them understanding Xingze's intentions. The young man simply stared ahead in silence. Furthermore, the palms of my mech began to deform, shattered, and dissipated like fragments in a meat grinder. At that moment, the man across from me smiled with a pinched smile. It hurts, right? I'll return the favor double. It certainly hurt, but I hadn't given up yet. I clenched my fists, simply wanting to finish off that annoying guy. But my hands were gradually disappearing, the palm of one arm completely worn away. Forget blocking it, even catching it was impossible now. But the next moment, my guy, KO, stretched out his arms. A faintly gleaming greenish-yellow arm replaced his worn-out forearm and grabbed the tornado. Its HP, on the verge of reaching 0, stopped falling. Because the HP sensor on his arms had ceased functioning, the two greenish-yellow arms grasped fiercely, forcibly stopping the massive tornado. The opponent was forced to seize it like a high-speed electric fan, suffering considerable damage. Its body was cracked. What? He suddenly lifted it above his head, swung it with a punch, and hurled it at a nearby rock. The next moment, the blue mech slammed into the rock, its HP reduced to 0. Its body was in tatters. At that moment, the screen above showed my victory. How could this be? He immediately covered his head, more frustrated than in pain at not being able to defeat me. But that was the outcome. The mech was recovered by a nearby staff member shortly afterwards. Chapter 10. After the showdown, I blocked Zhu Cheng's special move, surprising or even exciting many students in the stands. It seemed like something completely new, and no one would be foolish enough to try it. That special move was indeed a taboo, dangerous if used indiscriminately. It possessed a destructive power far greater than ordinary weapons. Those who witnessed the Mecha storm were truly in for a treat. Accepting his defeat, Zhu Cheng closed his once excited gaze, like a man resigned to defeat, and reluctantly left through the other passage. I spoke to him briefly afterward. I knew he'd intended to teach Xingze a lesson, but he'd failed, and he probably wouldn't do it again. I could sense it. Since mastering that special move, that man's win rate, which had once been less than 50%, had gradually risen to 60% through a winning streak, but today he'd suffered another setback. Yeah, that guy, a girl in war clothes, with long red hair and red eyes, was in the upper A1 stands. She took a quick look before turning and leaving. A silent young man, also in the stands, also turned and left after the match. Several others followed him toward the aisle. That freshman is quite impressive, one of the male students said. That's right, Qin Lang, a young man with dark green hair, had also come to see the excitement. He was somewhat interested in his friend from the East District and left with several other students after the match. After adding a win to my record, I planned to return home as soon as possible. That senior, Zhu Cheng, while seemingly aggressive, isn't a mean person. I can confirm that he won't be bothering Xingze and me anytime soon. As for that man's cousin, Zhu Wixu, her problems aren't anything to worry about. Xingze is a very secretive person, and I know that kid alone won't be able to bully her. Then I walked back home at a faster pace. Because of the duel today, it took a lot of extra time. When I changed my shoes, I could see that my sister's shoes were already on the shoe rack. When I walked into the house, I happened to meet my sister who was about to come out of the kitchen at the corner. She seemed to be preparing dinner. Brother, did you do something? You came back so late today. Nothing, I had a sparring match with a senior using a mecha. Really? Did you win, brother? Lan Yu held the plate in her hand and looked at me curiously. Yes, won? I also won the first time before. It was really interesting, brother, really. I almost lost. I don't know what happened to Lan Yu, but it was not easy for me to win. Oh, is that so? In that case, brother, why don't you come with me for special training? I'm actually quite good at that. With several years of experience, Lan Yu looked at me with a pair of wide, sparkling eyes, and said, special training, you look so interested in that, aren't you coming? Lan Yu's eyes continued to sparkle as she spoke. She must have been interested, and I had no reason to refuse. She was a good sister and had helped me so much. No problem, but let's start another day. Let's eat first, okay? I'll look forward to it, Brother, the pain from the after-school fight still lingered, and I didn't feel like doing anything physically demanding today. It was better to rest, anyway. With that in mind, I spent the day like any other. The next day was another cloudless day. After breakfast, I set out on the road to Xingze Academy. Passing the bustling streets I had become familiar with, it didn't take long to reach the academy. I arrived in the classroom at 7:45. Since class was still a while away, many students hadn't arrived yet. However, the girl at the next table, Xingze, had already arrived and was reading. Shortly after, another girl with brown hair arrived. She put her bag in the drawer and quickly walked over to Xingze's seat. I'm so sorry. I attacked you yesterday. And I was the one who spread this story about a cursed girl. Sorry, it's all my fault. I won't do it again. Xingze repeatedly bowed her head and apologized, seeming to truly acknowledge her wrongdoing. She quickly shared her misdeeds with the entire class, leaving everyone baffled. Xingze was a little confused, but soon the girl told her something. It was about Xingze's boyfriend. He'd been close to her for a while, but he had suddenly distanced himself from her. After investigating, she discovered he had a crush on Xingze, which infuriated her. Thus began a simple plan to take revenge on the beautiful, high-achieving girl. However, yesterday afternoon, she discovered the man was actually a philanderer, having started dating another girl. Xingze didn't get to date that person thanks to Xingze, so she came today to apologize, both for that incident and for asking her cousin for help. And so, that incident was finally over, and their relationship, at least from acrimony, had returned to normal. It was just such a trivial, everyday thing. Then, today's classes progressed as usual, and the day ended quickly with the ringing of the dismissal bell. It was time to leave school again, and I spent an extra hour practicing after class. My mecha control skills had decreased since graduating from that academy, so now I had the extra time to improve my proficiency. An hour later, practice was over, and the sun was setting. I prepared to return to class, grab my bag, and go home. With that in mind, as I walked towards the classroom, I saw a student still inside. It was Xingze. She was standing in her seat, seemingly staring silently out the window. I just silently walked over to get my bag and left. But as I passed her, she casually said, "Thank you for that yesterday, Xingze." Yesterday? That? Did I already thank you for that? I replied. Today, thanks to your help, too, but that's another matter, really? That's okay. Aren't we classmates? Classmates? Wouldn't it be more normal for us to be friends? Xingze suddenly asked, bewildered. She seemed to have a point, and it confused me too. No problem. If it doesn't work out, let's just treat it as a friendship, I said. Well, please give me your guidance in the future, Xingze. You too. Back in class, having inadvertently made a seemingly reliable friend, I grabbed my bag and prepared to go home. Goodbye, I said, leaving Xingze behind. I was a little concerned about what she was going to do, but as I'd agreed with my sister, I would get home as soon as possible. Chapter 11 Transfer Student. When I got home, my sister was already home. It looked like she'd even prepared dinner, and she was waiting in the living room. You're so slow today, didn't I say we were doing some training at school? Well, if you want special training, I'll just come with you. No one else is needed. Don't look at me like that. Suddenly, a sword materialized in my sister's hand, condensed beneath a blue-white glow. It had a white hilt and flat edges, like a wooden sword used in kendo. She suddenly grasped the sword and swung it toward me, her movements so precise and fluid that it stopped right before my eyes, only a few centimeters away. Lan Yu, what was that just now? I was more surprised by the sword's sudden appearance from my sister's hand than by her sword skills. It was like magic. Brother, practice with me. Don't waste time on training at school. Lan Yu's eyes shifted slightly, a hint of courage, but only for a moment. After a moment, they became a bit vacant again. Well, put your sword down before that. Come back on time starting tomorrow. Brother, that's fine, but what does the special training include? Brother, it's what you see in front of you. Swordsmanship, said the younger sister, holding the sword. Swordsmanship. I'm currently fighting with my fists. It's okay. Isn't reaction speed crucial when operating a mecha? So if you master this, you'll definitely get better at it in the future. And fists are just the basic form. Brother, you're not planning to use fists all the time, are you? That's impossible. Thinking about it carefully, many mecha users do have their own weapons, or some special moves or fighting methods. And from the beginning until now, I've only used my hands. It's not boring to continue like this, but it doesn't seem to be deep enough. I want to go to the next level. I don't know why, but I still want to get stronger. I understand. The only question I have is, how did you create that sword just now? I said, looking at Lan Yu with curiosity. That's the power granted by the Origin Stone. Perhaps you can do it, too. My sister seemed unsure. That kind of thing. Can I do it, too? Maybe. My sister's words made me eager to try, so I tried, imagining a sword. But how could I actually create one? It seemed a bit strange to imagine a sword before. Was it really possible? I suddenly felt unsure, and then the Origin Stone within me answered my question. Yes, it said so. As I imagined the sword, a dark glow emerged in my hand, and from that light, a pitch-black sword gradually emerged. Oh, I did it. Lan Yu's eyes widened, once a little dazed, as she looked towards me. The sword was similar to my sister's, both lacking a blade. It was probably a replica of Lan Yu's. Anyway, it was done, but it seemed I needed to make up my mind to pursue sword training from now on. In that case, Lan Yu, we can practice swordsmanship from now on. Can you teach me? Yes, of course. I said so yesterday, Lan Yu said eagerly. Some time passed after that. After school, I practiced swordsmanship with my sister Lan Yu. Besides basic training, we also sparred. Although she was a young girl, and my sister, her swordsmanship was indeed not simple. After 1 or 2 duels, I could tell she was quite strong, far superior to some of the bad guys I'd faced before. We practiced in a spare room in our house. There were several spare rooms like this in this house. It was a pity that no one was living there. I still regret not being able to visit my sister's house then. During practice, my sister was enthusiastic and willing to help me, but I also had to deal with her quite a bit. My limbs ached from the beatings. Due to the terrain, my resistance was higher than normal. I didn't wear any protective gear during training, and Lan Yu often used her attacks without restraint. In this way, we unknowingly passed nearly 2 weeks of special training. There were some difficult parts, but I gradually adapted. We mainly focused on basic sword techniques, and the whole day was basically just 1 or 2 moves. My sister described me as someone with potential. I wasn't sure if that was just a comfort, but I had no intention of stopping. Brother, keep going, of course. Sooner or later, I'll redeem my respect. Big brother, keep going, it's very difficult. Lan Yu just chuckled, encouraging me, her confidence evident. It was another morning, and today, my class, A13, was going to welcome a new transfer student. This was the information I'd received from my homeroom teacher. The transfer student was about to join the class, and the classmates around me were buzzing with discussion. They were all excited about the incoming transfer student. Not long after, the homeroom teacher stepped onto the podium. Seeing this, the students grew even more excited. They all knew, as always, that the transfer student would be arriving. As they thought about this, a young woman in a dark green work uniform entered. Her figure was perfectly formed beneath the tight-fitting outfit. She had long, crimson hair tied in a waist-length ponytail, and a work hat on her head. As the girl approached, I could see her profile from my angle, and even just from the side, it was quite striking. Many of the male students in the class were already cheering. Is that the transfer student? Great, what a beauty, our class needs just that. Well, everyone, be quiet. Actually, well, I'm not a transfer student, the homeroom teacher said with a wry smile. The girl beside her turned to face the students and said, I'm so sorry, this instrument's broken. I need to take it to get fixed, the girl, with a hint of apology, said to the students in front of her. The students were all disappointed. For a moment, I thought my eyes met the girl's. Had she noticed me? I couldn't help but wonder, perhaps it was an illusion. The next moment, the red-haired girl turned and walked out of the classroom. Okay, this time it's the real transfer student, Teacher Wu Feng said, waving his hand toward the door, signaling that the people there could come in. Then, another red-haired man walked in. Compared to the previous one, his features were plain and unremarkable. He seemed to exude a rustic air, an aura that only I could discern. This is the transfer student, Lin Hongguang. Oh, isn't it Li Xingze? He suddenly looked over, my presence detected. He waved. I simply looked toward the window, pretending not to notice. With that, the boring farce ended, and the students resumed their classes as normal. Those who had held out hope were probably disappointed. After all, it was that red-haired country bumpkin who showed up. We've been studying mechas for a while now. In a week, there will be a friendly mecha competition among the first-year students at the academy. This will be a test of your skills, so please be prepared. Wu Feng announced this at the end of her class. Her words sparked heated discussion among the students. Mecha competitions, or duels between mechas, are the reason most students come to the school. Improving their mecha control skills is something that many people aspire to, and I, in fact, fall into that category. Then the get out of class was over, and the red-haired man came over and greeted me. I didn't expect you to be in this class. It's a coincidence to meet Xingze. That's what I want to ask. How did you get in? I officially passed the assessment. Although it cost a little money to get in, it's not a problem, the red-haired man said and laughed. At this moment, I thought that the students in the class should be happy because a man who could hold a bottom spot has come. Chapter 12 Guanling. There were still 3 days until the battle ranking competition for my classmates at Xingze Academy. As usual, I was attending my mecha class at school. After the first mecha practical class of the afternoon, I went to the restroom. It was 2 p.m. and I still had 2 classes before school ended. While the classes were all closely related to mechas, I was a special kind of person, known outside as a rock gem holder. Courses for rock gem holders seemed rare, or rather, only mentioned occasionally. The academy focused more on knowledge related to natural mechas. Rock gem holders were a minority, with a majority of students being ordinary mecha users. After exiting the restroom, I planned to return to class. Walking down the hallway, I found myself at the other end of the vast oval corridor, where the classroom was several hundred meters away. Before that, I had to find a way to get from the 3rd floor to the 2nd. You can imagine how huge this academy is. After a short walk, I reached a corner leading to the stairs. At that moment, a young woman, clutching a large stack of books, bumped into me. With a thud, the books toppled over me. To avoid any further damage, I leaned backwards. The collision of the books and the girl sent me careening to the ground. We both collapsed, and the girl with long, crimson hair tied in a ponytail fell a little on top of me. The books were scattered between us, all over the floor. I'm so sorry, I couldn't see the way clearly, she said. I'd seen this girl the other day, her face apologetic as before. The sheer volume of books on the floor nearly covered her head, making it difficult for her to see what was ahead. It was understandable that this happened. I just didn't know why this seemingly slender girl was carrying so many books at once. Was she busy? It's okay, I wasn't paying attention, I said this, and began helping her pick up the books that had fallen on the floor, stacking them one by one. Soon, I had a thick stack of books, and the girl had also piled up books that were thick enough to cover her neck. Looking at the heavy pile in my hands, I wondered if I should add to it. Well, if you don't mind, I can help you carry some of the books over, okay? Yes, thank you very much. Seeing my agreement, the girl leaned over and smiled, extending a hand in greeting. The book in her hand almost fell to the ground again. She caught it just in time, and laughed shyly at her somewhat clumsy behavior. Okay, then, let's go this way next, the girl said, and began to walk along the circular corridor on the 3rd floor. I followed her, heading towards our destination. Thank you so much. What's your name? The girl said as we walked. I'm Xingze. Yes, I'm Guanling. Thank you for your help, Xingze. It's almost time for class, so let's speed up a bit, okay? Class was indeed about to start soon, and being late because I helped this girl get something wasn't really a valid excuse. The girl and I sped up. We walked along the circular corridor and quickly reached the end. At the end, there was a door with the word storage warehouse written on it. Guanling took out a card and swiped it on the machine next to the warehouse. The iron door opened automatically. She stepped inside, and I followed her. The warehouse looked quite spacious, likely filled with all sorts of items. However, the dim light made it difficult to see clearly. Xingze, it's right up ahead. Just put it there, Guanling said, placing the large stack of books on a nearby bookshelf. I quickly walked over to her, ready to place the stack of books on the shelf. The girl next to me had already finished and was walking towards the door, stopping before swiping her card into the card reader. The door slammed shut with a click. What is this? I placed the books back on the shelf, then approached the closed door and asked the girl. Xingze, I actually have a favor to ask of you. Guanling's large, Slightly reddish eyes glared at me. What? Call out the thing, that? What do you mean? You're the holder of the stone. You should know what the thing is. Someone had said something similar to me before, but this time, it was clearer. They wanted me to summon the spirit within the stone. That one again? Why did you ask me to call for it? Because we're going to make a deal. Trade? What kind of deal? Something to do with a rough stone. Yes, you want to trade rough stone with me. Trading rough stone? Is that even possible? I've never heard of the possibility of exchanging rough stone. Yes, if it's just me, I can do it, Guanling said, her crimson eyes gleaming with an unknown brilliance in the dim light, a dangerous hue. Really? Even so, I don't want to trade. Open the door, I need to get out of here. What I'm going to give you is a sky-shaped rough stone. It can perform long-range attacks. It's quite powerful. Think about it. No, if it's so good, you should keep it. I don't like making random trades, because yours seems to suit me better. Really? But I don't know if yours is right for me. It's okay, I'll keep the secret for you. As I said this, Guanling's gaze suddenly turned cold, her deep crimson eyes, as if empty, staring silently at me. For a moment, the air around us froze, and we were all silent. The next moment, Guanling raised her head slightly. In her hand, the crimson light transformed into a long, crimson sword. It slashed through the air, a flash of red light flashing across the air. It was a stabbing strike, aimed at my shoulder. After all, I'd practiced with my sister for quite a while. At the moment the sword struck, I shifted slightly to the side, letting the swift sword graze my shoulder. What are you doing? I asked. She didn't stop attacking. In silence, she swung a second blow, this time aimed at my legs. I instinctively stepped back, leaning against the door. I tried to push it open, but it was heavy and resisted my push. I had no key. It's no use. That door won't open without my card, and the sound won't be heard outside. What are you trying to do? So, just summon it honestly. You don't want to suffer any hardship, do you? The red sword was once again before my eyes, pointed at my chest. Trouble? Wouldn't it be someone discovering you, doing something bad here? I responded. Ah, discovered? Don't worry. It's dark here, and no one knows we're here. People generally only come out in the evening. If you become a problem, we can just deal with you, she said that. Just deal with you, but I didn't know how, and of course, I didn't intend to ask her. Can you do it? I said this, and as if accepting my provocation, she struck even more mercilessly. A flash of red light ripped through my clothes, and I was simultaneously flung away by the force, crashing into the cargo box behind me. I didn't know what that slashing blow was. But it was like a boxing champion's powerful punch, permeated with an invisible aura, like a sword slash. But I couldn't care less and decided to avoid her. With that decision, I headed deeper into the warehouse. The surroundings were dim, and even Guanling would have a hard time finding me. Don't even think about escaping. Seeing me fleeing deeper into the warehouse, Guanling ducked and chased after me, wielding the sword that shone faintly red in the darkness, like a nightlight. I hid beneath a bookshelf on the other side, peering through the gaps between the shelves and the books. Not far away, I saw the girl wielding the red sword. It was dim here, so the shimmering sword she held gave me an easy way to locate her. Once I knew where she was, I could get away from her. She wasn't coming for now. I couldn't imagine what had happened to her. It was like she had completely changed her persona. All that cuteness and innocence from before had vanished. Thinking about it, it all seemed a bit fake. Perhaps beneath that murderous face, beneath her crimson eyes, lay her true self. After a moment, I quietly began to move, escaping deeper into the warehouse, to get away from the red demon. I did so, but once I was truly far away, I realized that if I moved too far away, I wouldn't be able to confirm her location. That would be even more dangerous. While I was thinking, a sword suddenly pierced through the bookshelf next to me and appeared in front of me just above my shoulder. That red blade was definitely no joke. Chapter 13 Brawl. Gazing at the pair of crimson eyes gleaming with a cold light, the bookshelf beside me had been split in two, allowing her to walk right past me without taking a detour. I found you, Guanling said. As she spoke, the sword, gleaming with a faint red glow, swung towards me. I couldn't understand what was happening, but I dodged with all my might. I barely dodged her blow, half climbing onto the ground, staring at the glowing red sword. It bore a striking resemblance to Lan Yu's weapon. Many people with special abilities would likely possess such techniques. I later mastered the technique myself, and it was indeed a technique that such people might possess. Fleeing, my life in danger, instincts compelled me to do this, like a small animal facing a lion. Its imposing power was too overwhelming to resist without fleeing. However, there was no way out. I was cornered. What to do now? I was afraid there weren't many options, but I had to do it. I wouldn't wait for a third party to rescue me, I wouldn't ask the girl to return to normal, and I wouldn't agree to the deal. The only way to deal with violence was violence. A sword had already materialized in my hand. Come on, I'm not that easy to deal with, I said. Guanling couldn't help but sneer, as if signaling me to come over and exchange a few moves. Great. Now, I treat men and women equally. Instantly, I exchanged a few sword blows. The black sword flew. After a few moves, could the cornered beast successfully fight back? No, it was defeated. The best way to deal with violence isn't violence. Now I understand. I was knocked to the corner, Guanling's red blade pointed at my chest. Next, hand over that original stone spirit. Wait, before that, when you first came to bump into me, was that just acting? Yes, acting. How could I possibly carry a pile of books and bump into a stranger? I was just trying to trick you into coming in. Simple, right? Really? You really fooled me. At that moment, I grabbed the red blade's edge with one hand. Guanling was slightly startled. Indeed, in that state, my hand would be injured. This was what Xingze considered a normal scenario. For Guanling, the sharp sword would have severed her hand, but that didn't happen. I pulled the sword toward her, and Guanling leaned forward, then casually let go. Otherwise, she might lose her balance. I used the momentum to stand up and toss the sword aside. Even if you behave so harshly, I still want to know what you need the raw stone for. Hearing this, Guanling lowered her head slightly, a thoughtful expression, and then said, resistance is useless. The next moment, Guanling approached, the red blade, having returned to her hand. With a strike of her elbow, she suddenly knocked me against the bookshelf. The bookshelf, unbearable, collapsed, and I fell to the ground with it, crushed by the girl. Alright, this is the last time. Call out that original spirit, the red blade pointed at me again. If I could call it out, I could still fight, perhaps even have a chance of victory. Then as you wish, instantly, a cyan light rippled before me, and a cyan figure emerged, sending the girl retreating a considerable distance. It's out, let me see how you're going to take my primordial spirit, use this blade to pierce it. Guanling's eyes gleamed as she saw the enormous, majestic statue before her. She flew toward it, stabbing a portion of it with her red blade. Instantly, the cyan light shone, colliding with Guanling's red blade. The collision left neither side unsuccessful. Can't pierce, really? Then you can't do it, I said, and Kaotaka vanished into the air. Wait, no, I can't keep summoning it, what I did just now was already a desperate move. Being able to summon it was a blessing. How can you do this? Guanling lamented. I ignored her and walked towards the gate. It seemed like this was the end, but Guanling didn't give up. That'll force you into a corner once again. Stop, Guanling approached me, sword in hand, and I stopped her. I understand. Tell me why you want to take my gemstone, Guanling. I need a lot of things, and I need strength. What are they? For example, destroying something, Guanling said, her voice low and deep. Though I couldn't hear it, it sounded like a glitch in a recording. I don't know your motives. It's fine if you want to do it, but arbitrarily hindering others is wrong. You won't get what you want, I said. Is that so? Then what should we do? Guanling asked. We fell silent. I don't know, it's simple. I'll help you. What? What can you do? Back, I saw that behind her, on the bookshelf, several books were about to fall, caused by the earlier commotion. How dare you say back? I'm not stupid. The next moment, the books fell, landing on her head. She did look in pain. It's your fault. Looking at this woman, I felt a connection. At that moment, there was some movement outside, as if someone had noticed something was wrong in the warehouse. The sound of footsteps echoed. Guanling slowly stood up, shook her head, and walked in another direction. Looks like it's no use. Soon after, Guanling disappeared from the dark warehouse. I waited at the door for a moment before someone opened it and I was free afterwards. I explained my situation to the staff. This meant I was responsible for sorting out the scattered items in the warehouse. Sadly, I had no choice but to do it. As dusk approached, I finished my work and it was time for school to end. As I was leaving the classroom, the red-haired girl appeared before me. "Did you tell the teachers about that?" Guanling asked. "What? My business. I told you before, I keep it a secret." "Why would you?" Guanling looked at the young man in front of her with a hint of disbelief. I handed her a piece of paper and said, "You should pay the compensation. I don't have much money." With that, I walked away from her. After all, according to Lan Yu's agreement, I had to get home as soon as possible. So I started walking. On the way, my phone rang. It was a text message. I didn't know who the sender was, so I opened it to see what it was. Chapter 14 Rest Day. "I'm sorry," the text message read. "I don't know who sent it, and the sender is unknown." Regardless, I returned home. No one was around today, so it was a normal arrival. As I washed my hands, I felt a sharp pain. It was from grabbing the sword blade with my bare hands earlier. I'd almost forgotten what it was, but the wound wasn't deep. It wasn't a serious injury, just a bit of a hassle. I sighed, used the family medicine kit to treat the wound, and then covered it with gauze. Not long after, my sister Lan Yu returned. She came home as usual. She greeted me and noticed a bandage on my hand. "What's wrong, brother? Is your hand okay?" "It's just a scratch, nothing." "Then, no special training today?" "There's nothing I can do about it like that." "That's right, ground-shaped rough stones have a tough nature. Jiuhe said so, and that's probably why I didn't get hurt much. But for now, it's better to stay put. Tomorrow is Saturday, and like every other school, Shangshilin College will have a weekend off." The next day, the weather was clear, the sun high in the sky. It was a rare weekend, so I really needed to get out and about. I should get to know my way around. After all, this city is much larger than the ones next door. "Brother, come shopping with me today." "Really? What are you buying?" "Of course, lots of things, clothes and stuff. My brother and I have a lot of things we need." "Then let's go. The temperature here is definitely different from where we used to live. Time to buy some clothes." "Okay, get ready, we'll be leaving soon." Not long after, I changed into casual clothes and headed out the door. Just then, I saw a letter in the mailbox nearby. I took it and saw it was addressed to me, with someone named Ming on it. I reached for the envelope. It said Guanling. Was she the girl from yesterday? I thought to myself, and that was the only Guanling I knew. While Lan Yu was still getting ready to leave, I opened the envelope. The message read, "About yesterday's incident, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. It was my fault. Judging from this, yesterday's text was most likely sent by her. Although I didn't give her my home address and phone number, it should be easy to find." The letter then continued, "I'm a school official. I found this in the student handbook. I'm very sorry for what I did without your permission, but I'd like to find your contact information. Sorry, if you can forgive me, please write down my number." Her number followed, and the rest of the message was about a meeting. That was the general content, but it was clear the letter was sincere. A moment later, Lan Yu also emerged, and we headed to the shopping mall near the student apartments as planned. It wasn't far. We walked along a straight road, passing numerous skyscrapers on both sides, most of which were over 10 stories high. Looking upward, we saw numerous tunnels in the sky, obscured by branches like tree branches. These were tunnels built specifically for mechas. Natural-shaped mechas would often burst out of these tunnels and soar into the sky. I've been here for nearly 6 months, so I've sort of gotten used to it. But I still sometimes marvel at the place. Compared to other cities, this one feels like a futuristic metropolis, and compared to the countryside, it feels like an unknown, civilized world. "We're here, brother." As we reached the street next to the shopping mall, Lan Yu said, gazing out the window of a prop store. "Oh, how about that one, isn't it? It's very nice." My sister's eyes sparkled as she gazed at the clothes in the nearby clothing store. "That should suit you perfectly." "Really? Then buy it." We entered the store, where she tried on several outfits for me to see. Every one of them suited her perfectly. Lan Yu seemed to have sculpted herself into a great figure over the years without her noticing. "Brother, which one should I choose?" She hesitated, gazing at a blue dress and a loose-fitting white top and yellow skirt next to it. "Let's pick the one on the right. I think I saw the blue dress before." "That's right." After listening to my advice, she agreed. We spent some more time in the shopping mall, buying quite a few things. Just as I was on my way to the store with my sister, a text message suddenly rang through. I opened my phone and saw the sender's number was the same as yesterday's, Guanling. It read, "Was shopping fun? What had she seen? Was it fun?" It wasn't that. It was just that she saw us somewhere. I replied, "Where are you? What's wrong, brother?" "Nothing, keep going," my sister asked, turning to ask when I suddenly stopped. Oh, a moment later, the text came back, "Yes, not far from here. You're shopping. I won't disturb you." "Who's it from?" "Classmates," Lan Yu asked. "Pretty much, that's it." We continued shopping, picking up some winter supplies as planned. As for Guanling, it would be nice to see her again. For some reason, she didn't seem to be back to normal. Even though she had a scary experience yesterday, it shouldn't happen again. Choosing the right location is crucial. "Are you stalking me?" I sent this reply, and a moment later, the reply was, "No, it's just a coincidence. I just happened to be here." Then, I concluded, tomorrow was a day off, so we'd meet again. The location would be a cafe, where I'd meet the girl. Guanling, having received this conclusion, happily departed, completely oblivious to the meaning of stalking. Meanwhile, Lan Yu and I had completed our shopping trip successfully, with a lot of luggage. Thankfully, someone helped us get it home by midday. Having finished our business for the day, Sunday had already arrived. This afternoon, I was to meet the woman at a cafe. The meeting place was on the central street of District 8, a block away from the student apartments, though not too far. Districts 7 and 8 both belong to the academy area, so named because they were populated by students and academies. My home was relatively close to District 8, so I wouldn't get lost. It's worth noting that this eastern district has a total of 28 districts, and I'm in District 7, while District 8 is practically next door. I took a taxi and arrived there quickly. Arriving at the central street of the 8th district, I looked around at the shops, searching for the meeting place Guanling had provided. I quickly found it, a rather conspicuous coffee shop. It was indeed a normal, crowded place, so I walked towards it. I walked towards the coffee shop and quickly entered. Inside, I looked around and spotted the figure of the girl with long crimson hair in a corner. My eyes met hers, and Guanling was waving towards me. Without a second thought, I walked over. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Before the Game. Good afternoon, Xingze. "Oh, Guanling, what do you want me to do today?" I said, sitting down in the empty seat directly across from Guanling. At this moment, Guanling came over, sat down next to me, and said, "Quite a few." "What?" Just as I was about to ask more, the waiter came over. "Sir, is there anything I can help you with?" Guanling took the menu, looked at it, and said, "Coffee, 2, yes, I want 1 too, 2 coffees." Guanling handed the menu to the waiter and said this. The waiter nodded and left. "Guanling, what's going on?" I asked, seeing that the waiter had already left. "Look around, what are those people doing?" Guanling said, her lips curled. I looked around as she asked. There were quite a few people around this cafe. It was the weekend after all, and there were all kinds of people. There were quite a few young men and women, similar to us. "Do you understand something?" Guanling tilted her head and said, "I don't know, this is a date, really?" "What are you going to do?" I said indifferently. "Wait, your reaction is too cold. Actually, I also have something to say today, but let's start with you," I said. As I spoke, the waiter came over and handed us the coffee we ordered earlier. I took it and took a sip. After the waiter left, Guanling lowered her head slightly, and then continued softly, "Is that so? Then first of all, I'm very sorry about some things about the school. Have you read the letter?" "I have, it's okay, just don't do it again." "Have you forgiven me?" "I won't do it again, I promise." Hearing this, I was silent for a while. "Very good. Also, another thing," Guanling continued. "What, classmate Xingze, live with your sister now?" "Yes." I don't know how she knew it, but I still answered. "Any worries?" "Worries? About the future? I don't know. Graduation, marriage, and work? I don't know. For example, graduate from this college, and then marry me. That seems very ordinary." "Really?" "That's it. Start by dating me, and then after graduation, okay, is it okay, date me first, and get married after graduation? The reply is okay, which is so simple that it is less sincere than writing a letter of apology. That's enough, let's stop talking about this. I think you hate something you wanted to do before, hatred, revenge, or something like that. Well, that doesn't matter anymore. It's fine anyway, really, it was the same as it was not long ago. It didn't matter anymore. I don't know what happened. Meeting this person before me was, after all, fate. You look quite young. Are you a faculty member at the school? 16, just trapped in that school? That's true. I'm older, I said. I spend a lot of time at that school, so let's talk about something else. I'll teach you about primordial spirits, Guanling said. I know that at the Holy Water Spirit Academy, they only teach about mechas, not about people with special abilities. That's common. Primordial stone holders have different characteristics, and many are very unique, making it difficult for a teacher to handle them alone. Guanling said this, and I understood a little. I understand. Let's do it, then. From today on, let's start with our relationship as master. I nodded. Great, Guanling smiled. This result was indeed unexpected, but it seemed surprisingly acceptable. Guanling was incredibly capable, but unfortunately, she sometimes had her moments of weakness. Even so, it didn't matter. That's all for today. I'm going home. I stood up, my coffee finished, and it was time to leave. Give me a reply one day, Xingze, Guanling said before I left. I glanced at her and then walked out of the cafe. A relationship similar to that of a master and apprentice, probably like this. Afterwards, I returned home. My sister was sitting on the sofa. The things I bought earlier were probably already taken care of. Brother, where did you go all of a sudden? Lan Yu asked, looking somewhat disgruntled. I met up with someone I know. Really? Never mind. Is your hand okay? The wound's almost healed. A little training shouldn't be a problem, really? Then let's get started. Just a little practice. Your wound isn't completely healed yet. Yes, I nodded. It was 3 in the afternoon, so I could probably practice swordsmanship until dinner. There was a spare room at home dedicated to practice. Walking in, I started with warm-up exercises, then it was time for a direct duel with Lan Yu. I decided to take this opportunity to calm myself down. I took a deep breath and went to a corner of the room, ready to exchange a few moves with my sister. This happened occasionally throughout the week, and today was the day for another duel. And after that, I was defeated. Lan Yu's attack today was completely different from her concern for my wound. Her habit of venting her frustrations whenever something went wrong reminded me of her, and I silently vented my frustrations in the sparring. Those few minutes of practice were indeed difficult. Brother, the competition starts on Monday, don't overtrain. Yeah, of course, the training moves were just 3 simple basic movements, 1 a day. This was necessary to master them, and now was the time to lay the foundation. According to Lan Yu, that foundation in swordsmanship was crucial. It needed to be fully developed before mechas could even be considered for use, so it was probably impossible to use it in the upcoming competitions at this stage. A day later, Sunday was spent practicing swordsmanship even more. Time flew by, and then Monday arrived. This day was finally the day for the peer ranking competition. I arrived at the A13 classroom early in the morning, where many students looked quite motivated. It's time for a man to show himself. I've been doing a lot of extracurricular practice lately, and today's the day, huh? Many of the competitive boys were already getting excited, and just then, a red-haired man approached me. Xingze, I've only been here a short time, but I'm also participating in this competition. Really? Don't let yourself get beaten so badly. You're kidding. I'm saying this so we can meet again in the duel arena. Wait, I'll show you how much I've improved. The red-haired man snorted coldly and returned to his seat. Meanwhile, another student arrived at the table next to mine. It was Xingze, who seemed to have arrived late today. Shortly after she appeared, the bell rang, and our homeroom teacher, Wu Feng, arrived at the same moment. She came with nothing in her hands today, looking as if she were heading to the battlefield. The peer ranking competition will begin shortly. When the music starts, we'll begin the internal class competitions. Each class can only send 5 students, so I hope everyone performs well. The other teachers and I will not only be judging the results, but even if you lose, you may still be selected. Teacher Wu Feng said this. In reality, today's competition was an internal class competition, also serving as a ranking competition within the class. We've been waiting a long time, teacher. The competition is divided into 2 sessions, morning and afternoon. Your match lists have been assigned and will be distributed shortly. Several students at the front desk passed down the white match list, which clearly listed the match lists for each area and the start time of each round. Players who did not arrive after the deadline would be considered forfeit. I glanced at the match list and quickly found my name. My match was in Arena E2, the second round after 9 o'clock. Firstly, since our class only had one area, 2 duels could be held simultaneously within that area. My turn would begin after the first round's duel. Everyone understands? Get ready to go. The battle music began playing, and the students in the class formed up, ready to head towards their target location. Led by the teacher, the students began their march. Outside the corridor, we saw not only our own class, but also other classes lining up to head to their respective battlegrounds. There were actually 8 battlegrounds in this academy, and our class was heading to Area 5. After a short walk, we quickly arrived at the entrance to Area 5. The teacher used his staff card to open the mechanical gate. Jiuhua, are you also participating in this competition? After waiting for a moment, I asked the girl standing in front of me. No, I'm not participating. Why? You are indeed quite strong, aren't you, Xingze? I actually plan to participate in exploration and reconnaissance work after graduation. That doesn't require strong combat power, so it doesn't matter if I don't do it. Really? Guanling once said that the holders of the original stone are generally low-key people. I can understand that. We are a minority, and it's probably not something to be admired to casually reveal our identities in front of a group of strangers. Then, as the iron gate in front of us opened, the students lined up in 2 lines began to move forward. Chapter 16 Ranking Tournament. Then the interclass competition began. The average match lasted between 10 and 20 minutes, though depending on the duration of the fight, it could be over in under 30 seconds. After about 15 minutes, the first round concluded, and the second round began, which would be my match. After Li Xingze's name was called, I began walking to the dueling arena in Area E1. I arrived at the east side of the arena. My challenger, currently on the west side, was a classmate named Liu Yang. We both entered the arena. After verifying our student IDs, the large screen above the arena displayed our stats. Liu Yang had a record of 4 wins and 4 losses, while I had a record of 9 wins and 0 losses. In other words, I had never lost. In the afternoons or after school, when I had free time, I would occasionally seek out classmates from the same academy to duel with. As long as I had my student's ID, all my duels would be recorded. This would become a comprehensive data set, impacting both honors and diplomas. That was the rule of this school. Coming in with an undefeated opponent right off the bat, how interesting, Liu Yang said as the natural mecha before him emerged from the ground onto the duel arena. It was a ground-type mecha of similar color to ours, with a pale yellow body and sturdy arms. Its fists were clashed with steel gloves, appearing to be filled with fighting spirit. As the countdown to the start of the match reached 0, both sides entered combat mode. Since both were ground-type mechas, the outcome would be decided in direct, hand-to-hand combat. My dark yellow mecha closed the distance with the opponent. Judging from the opponent's appearance, its weapon should be its steel gloves, which I lacked. So, a direct duel of fists and kicks ensued. The opponent launched a punch, and as expected, I dodged it and countered with a punch. It was a close-quarters attack, our ranges were similar. His glove certainly added a bit of range and damage, but it was pointless if I missed. With expert combat skills, I dodged and blocked his attacks. Then, I delivered a fatal punch, concluding his defeat. In the duel, my maneuverability was clearly superior to Liu Yang's. As both of us were ground-based mechas, I still had the advantage in terms of strength. The outcome was obvious, even the teachers nearby could see. I had won, no big deal. As expected of an undefeated guy, the students watching murmured. My first match was over. The second would be in 2 hours. During this time, I was free to move around. Matches would be held throughout the day, just like a sports day. Students were free to come and go in the various battle areas of the academy and watch whatever matches they wanted. Everyone had their own match schedule. I had no interest in staying to watch the class match for now. Jiuhua, the only person I wanted to see, wasn't there, so I decided to go for a walk. After all, the battle area was quite noisy, and I wasn't particularly fond of it. I then left the gate to Area 5 and headed out into the corridor. I'd planned to relax by the guardrail, but there were quite a few students milling around the corridor, some like me, some on their way to watch in other areas. The most exciting match, among my classmates, was undoubtedly Qin Liang. He was the strongest man from the East District, and not only that, he had the looks and personality that women admired. Xingze, long time no see, Qin Liang. The green-haired guy suddenly appeared before my eyes. When I looked at the captain list earlier, I had noticed that he was competing in Area 6, meaning he was right next door. How is it going? Is your match over? Yes, it's over. I'm taking a break now. Really? My match just finished, too. You'll be in the main competition, right? Let's have a good fight then. Qin Liang brushed past me and patted my shoulder. Really? If the opportunity arose, I'd do it, I replied, and we both went our separate ways. That boy was perhaps the most formidable of my classmates. Meeting him in a competition would undoubtedly be a real test. Afterward, it was almost lunchtime at the academy, so I went to the cafeteria and had a quick lunch. It was almost time to return to Area 5 for the next match. It was exactly 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and my second match was about to begin. My opponent this time was another mushroom-haired man from my class. Like me, he was a new student from the East District Training Academy, named Ribo. He was ranked 5th in the pecking order, and based on our recent study together, I knew he was quite capable. The fact that he had advanced to the second round of the rankings was a testament to that fact. Xingze, please show some mercy. That's not necessary. After both of them placed their student cards into the battle machine, the large screen displayed their battle records. I had just won a match, bringing my record to 10 wins, while Ribo had 7 wins and 2 losses. The countdown. 3, 2, 1. The match began, and the purple training machine in front of Ribo instantly took to the air. He was a Sky-type Mecha operator, a more formidable type for ground-type Mechas. In this academy, those who could control Sky-type Mechas were generally considered more talented than those who could only control ground-type Mechas. They had an advantage over ground-type Mechas, but this was only a matter of comparison for rookies. With sufficient operating skills to maximize the advantages of ground-type Mechas, Sky-type Mechas would also feel threatened. A moment later, a purple giant flew overhead, its weapon visible in its hand, a spear. In an instant, the Sky-type Mecha flashed and suddenly moved to my side, preparing to attack. The purple giant lunged forward, the spear gripped in both hands, thrusting forward fiercely. Xingze dodged the blow, but the attack wasn't over yet. The spear flung back, then continued its thrusts, a continuous barrage of attacks. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The swift attack sent a wave of pain through me, reducing my HP by 4/1. At that moment, I seized the opportunity, dodging to the side and instantly grabbing the opponent's spear. Seizing this opportunity, I yanked hard, dragging the spear and the giant down in midair. Seizing this opportunity, I unleashed a flurry of heavy punches, decimating Ribo's health. Ultimately, he was defeated, and the battle was still my victory. It was a quick victory. I lost. That hurt a lot just now. Be gentler next time, Hashizo-kun. Really? So you were that guy too, of course, otherwise it wouldn't hurt. I'm so sorry. I'll think about it next time. After securing my second win, I retreated to the edge of the stands, intending to wait for the next match to begin. It should be noted that since half the players had already been eliminated after the first round this morning, the wait for the third match wouldn't be that long. I was planning to quietly watch the next few matches from the stands when a red-haired man approached and sat down next to me. I glanced at him. What's wrong? You look like a loser. I actually lost in the first round. This is unbelievable. What? Isn't that normal? No, I must have accidentally run into the best guy in this class. I'm just unlucky. The red-haired man, a recent transfer who had gotten in through money, was understandably unlucky. It was only natural for him to fail. Without some skills, it's not easy to get into this academy. Really? Who is your opponent? It's indeed a girl with brown skin. What's her name? The red-haired man was scratching his head and thinking, when he suddenly saw a girl passing by, and pointed at her and said, "Ah, it's her." Seeing this, I also looked over and followed the direction of the red-haired man's finger. There was a girl with beautiful light blue shoulder-length bangs. If I remember correctly, she was a freshman who entered the class with me when she enrolled, a girl from the South District. Chapter 17 Blue Mecha. After waiting quietly in the audience for about an hour, my third round was about to begin. After the E1 dueling arena was cleared, a voice came from above, announcing the next round's contestants. Xingze, one of the contestants, was quickly called and stepped onto the arena. Shortly thereafter, another opponent arrived on the opposite stage. It was a woman with short, light blue hair, one of the students who had previously entered this class with me. Lincoln, as the voice announced her, had placed herself directly across from me. Looking at the girl before me, I couldn't believe I'd met her so unexpectedly. She was the opponent the red-haired man had mentioned earlier. It didn't take much to figure out what kind of opponent she was. Both parties, prepare for battle, the teacher said. The two placed their student cards into the dueling machine. As the machine lit up, a large screen above the center of the arena displayed their information. Next to his own portrait on the left, Xingze's record was displayed as 12 wins and 0 losses. On the right, a portrait of a girl with light blue hair, bronze skin, and striking features was displayed. Next to it was Lincoln's record. 9 wins, 0 losses. As the two players' stats appeared on the sign, the students in the audience suddenly became excited. A duel like this would surely mean one of them would suffer their first defeat. 2 undefeated guys in our class facing off, how interesting. Watching the two on the big screen, the students began to speculate about who had a better chance of victory. At that moment, the countdown to the start of the duel on the arena reached 0. The mech in front of me was a dark yellow, natural-shaped mech, while Lincoln's was a dark blue one. In one hand, the mech held a full-length blue halberd. As the battle began, both sides moved in close, and from their stance, the other seemed to be a melee fighter. I concluded that a head-on confrontation was imminent. Immediately, the two mechas clashed. As their eyes locked, the blue mech wielding the halberd, leveraging its range advantage, delivered the first blow. The blow was incredibly fast and powerful, sweeping across with a sharp, piercing sound as the blade clashed with the dark yellow mech's left arm. My HP was instantly reduced by 10%, but I couldn't retract her weapon. Seizing this opportunity, I commanded the mech to deliver a punch. With a swish, the powerful punch pierced the air in front of me. The intended punch missed because, in a split second, the blue mech mysteriously retreated a meter to the rear. I didn't even see it move. Could it be, her mech wasn't ground-based? I couldn't help but wonder. The next moment, however, the opponent slid to the side and launched a powerful lateral strike. KO raised one arm to block the blow, closing in on the opponent, his upper arm colliding only with the hilt of the halberd. The resulting impact was powerful, a blow I didn't expect a sky form could deliver. One question, why don't you have a weapon? After blocking the attack, I attempted to retaliate as before, but the opponent used the same gate as before, sliding across the flat ground like an ice rink. The blue mech spun and slid, closing in on me from behind. It's worth noting that the surface was rocky. I had heard of gliding before, using a wheel-like mechanism, but what I saw seemed far different. The blue mech was much more graceful than a wheel-like mechanism. Because I haven't found a weapon better than my fists, I replied to the girl. Bringing random weapons would be less effective than using your fists, and wearing gloves or other power-enhancing devices like some others would only add unnecessary weight to your mech. The fastest and most powerful way to maintain speed, and at the moment, the easiest, is still to fight with bare hands. Is that so? As the opponent shifted continuously, I could discern a glimpse of his marvelous footwork. Under the blue mech's feet, a trace of blue water ripples appeared every time it glided. These ripples were what allowed his mech to glide across flat ground. Are you the one with the ocean shape? Is that what you've noticed? But knowing isn't very helpful, is it? Lincoln said, her eyes filled with a certain ease. Although I understood his fighting techniques, I struggled to seize opportunities to attack. The blue mech's unique combination of evasion and attack was not only remarkable, but also its operational prowess was exceptional. This forced me to focus even more on the duel at hand. Despite the opponent's impressive evasiveness and strength rivaling that of a typical ground-based mecha, KO was still no match. In all the dozen or so battles I've fought, I've yet to encounter a mech so powerful I could surpass mine. In this brief period, after several exchanges of attacks, I was able to cause him considerable trouble. My control skills weren't inferior, we both possessed solid fundamentals. That's it, both sides, the homeroom teacher called a halt, and the match ended in a draw. The elegant and graceful blue mecha stopped, as did my dark yellow one. You two are both competent, so both of you can compete in the official match tomorrow, the teacher said. Is that so? In other words, there was no need to deplete each other's strength before the official match, or so it seemed. Since I had been successfully selected, I let Chaos Spirit leave the Mecha and then walk down the stairs to my departure. The same thing happened to the girl across from me. After both of us left the arena, we exchanged a brief exchange of words at the sidelines. After all, there was only one way out. What a shame, the girl said, her blue eyes gazing at me as she passed by. Afterward, the class ranking competition concluded. Those chosen to represent our class were Lincoln, me, and D-Rebo, who came in 5th. Afterward, the students gathered in class for a while, and then the bell rang for dismissal. As usual, I grabbed my bag and prepared to leave. It had been a busy day, a decent one, but the real competition wasn't until tomorrow. Reflecting on my experience, I walked down that familiar, bustling street again. The 10-minute journey home took me all the way. By then, I'd spotted my sister's shoes on the shoe rack. She'd already returned, so I'd been a little later than usual. Brother, how's it going? I have a formal meeting tomorrow. That's a hassle. I'll be home a little late. Right, yes, but I might lose soon, so I won't be late. Will you lose? I don't know. What do you think? I'll win, brother, but it's better to be back on time for dinner. My sister is incredibly confident, probably because she's so strong. But what about me? I still haven't figured out how to use the sword. The only thing that bothers me about the outcome is that guy, Qin Liang. As long as I can face him this time, there will be no doubts. Chapter 18 Official Competition. The next day, my classmates gathered in the hall for the opening ceremony of the friendly match. After nearly half an hour of opening speeches, the competition officially began. The teachers arranged for the contestants, including me, to be sent to our respective battle areas to prepare for the duels. Today was another day for first-year students to be free and unattended. There were no classes, so the general students could go watch the matches they wanted to see. The remaining participants were just like me. It was just after 9:30, and my first match was about to begin. The first match took place in the A2 dueling arena. Walking toward the east side of the arena, I immediately saw my opponent, silently waiting across the arena. After we both inserted our cards, a message appeared above the dueling arena. The opponent was a Mecha user from Class A7. Based on his appearance and the fact that he approached on foot after the opening, I could confirm that he was a ground type. A battle between ground types was the simplest, relying on both sides' basic abilities to fight each other out. This was the most reliable scenario for me. My first opponent was a dark green mech, wielding a massive battle axe in each hand. The axe's destructive power was immense. A hit would not only reduce my HP considerably, but also severely damage the mech itself. This was something I needed to be cautious of. Soon, I engaged it, and with my mech's agility and explosive power, I dodged its relatively easy attacks and then sent it flying with a powerful punch. The battle wasn't particularly challenging, and I emerged victorious. However, having only fought one person, I couldn't yet confirm the true strength of this classmate. Xingze's victory was quickly announced on the big screen. The winner would advance to the next round, while the loser would be eliminated. After my victory, I quietly left the arena. There would be a break, and I planned to spend some time in a corner of the audience. After all, such matches are quite physically demanding. I sat there for nearly an hour before I realized it, and the second round was about to begin. During that process, I could also see the results of the remaining competitors in my class on the large screen nearby. Of the 5 of us, including myself, 2 had already been eliminated. Dear Rebo and Lincoln won their first matches, a perfectly normal outcome. Today's competitors were, for the most part, the best from each class. After the break, my second match took place in the A1 duel arena in Area 1, a flat field. The second round was against a boy from Class A5. Like my previous opponent, he was a ground-based Mecha user. Having spent quite some time at this academy, I've come to understand that ground-based Mecha users are the majority, while air-based Mecha users, capable of flight, are a rare breed. In the second round, my opponent was a Mecha user wielding blunt weapons, and like the previous ones, he used powerful weapons. Without adequate skill, he couldn't inflict any damage on me with such weapons. The heavy weapon slowed him down, and I easily dispatched him. I took little damage, so the battle wasn't a difficult one. Perhaps it was luck that I encountered 2 ground types, but whatever. I didn't care who my opponents were, as long as I defeated them. Then came the second break. The other two students besides me, Lin Qin and Deribo, also finished their second matches shortly after. Lin Qin won, while Deribo lost, leaving him as a spectator. This meant that from Class A13, only Lin Qin and I were left to advance to the third round. After a break, we both won our third matches. My third opponent was again a ground-type mecha user. That was my strength, and it was another victory. For ground types, strength, speed, and explosive power are crucial, as they fight in close combat, requiring little strategy. And my spirit form truly possesses greater power than the average fighter. I've clearly felt it in the recent battle. After the 3 matches in the morning, it was lunchtime. During this time, no matches were held, and all students took a break. Naturally, I headed to the cafeteria for lunch. Student Xingze is quite impressive. He won all 3 matches this morning. There are only 2 other people in our class who can do that. What are you talking about? It's only natural, since he went to the same school as me. I sat in a corner of the cafeteria. Several classmates came to the table across from me. One of them, a boy with glasses, was giving a speech. Before I could reply, the red-haired boy next to me interrupted. Which school is it? Shuguang number 1 middle school. Where's that? The bespectacled boy adjusted his glasses, clearly confused. Only the red-haired boy and I knew where Shuguang middle school was. It was, after all, an unknown school in a remote countryside. After spending some time eating lunch, it was almost time for the next round of competitions. My next round would be in Area 5, so it was necessary to arrive 10 minutes before the start time. It's worth mentioning that there are 8 areas, plus a central dual arena. Aside from the central arena, the remaining 8 areas are largely similar. The difference lies within the dual arena, where the terrain varies, including rocky terrain, plains, lakeside terrain, and street terrain. The 4th round of Group B's duel is about to begin. Competitors, please assemble at E2. Following the announcement, I began walking towards the east entrance of the duel arena. My 4th round opponent also entered from the west entrance. Quickly, we both inserted our student cards into the duel machine. The machine flashed brightly, reading the data successfully. The large screen above displayed our results. I had won all 14 matches, while the other boy from Class A11 had a record of 10 wins and 3 losses. I heard you're a ground-based type, yet you haven't even lost once. You're truly impressive. Let me see for myself, come on. During the countdown before the final match, the 2 exchanged provocations. Looking at the confident boy before me, I knew he was likely the type capable of controlling a mecha through the air. Immediately, the countdown ended, the machine lit up green, and the match between the 2 began. The brown mecha before me soared into the sky. As expected, it was a sky-shaped mecha user. Looking ahead, I saw the opponent's weapon, a corkscrew-like object. In a flash, the opponent closed in from above, hovering above Kyotoka's head, about 3 meters away. Then, the opponent's mecha swung its right weapon and attacked from above. Seeing the incoming attack, I prepared to meet it. However, before the weapon reached my attack range, the drill-like steel cone suddenly extended and darted forward, striking the dark yellow mecha on the left shoulder with a clang. An unexpected blow. The next moment, I realized it was retractable. Though its HP was reduced by 8%. Before me was a sky-shaped opponent with a wider attack range than mine. This opponent was more difficult to deal with than the previous 3. Because my opponent was a sky type, I couldn't stay still for too long. I needed to move and look for opportunities. A moment passed, and after a fierce duel, I emerged victorious. Against a sky-type opponent, I believe the most important thing is to seize the moment of their attack and find an opportunity to counterattack. Doing this is the key to victory. Not easy, ground type, the boy said, and he quietly left. And so, I will enter the 5th round of the competition. After leaving the duel arena, the mecha will be taken back underground for inspection and repair. Since everyone has only one training mecha, we can't allow it to wear out too much during this period. If an arm is broken, I'll have to face the next round in the same state. Fortunately, my dark yellow mecha wasn't badly damaged. After the battle, I decided to go outside to get some fresh air. So, I walked out of the 5th area and onto the 3rd floor corridor when a familiar figure suddenly appeared in front of me. It was a girl with light blue hair, her aquamarine eyes inadvertently crossing my path. "Is that you? Since we just bumped into each other," she greeted me. She was the first to speak, her blue eyes staring at me fearlessly. Are you going to the competition now, Lin Qin? No, my competition is over, Lin Qin responded. Did you get defeated? Who is your opponent? I asked out of curiosity. Well, although I don't want to say anything to spoil the mood, that's Qin Lang, a very famous person. Yeah, I know. I might have a duel with him, that would be very tricky. To be honest, he's not an opponent that can be dealt with in 1 or 2 moves, really? Thank you for reminding me, nothing. After all, I don't want to just watch him win all the time. Lin Qin played with her temples lightly and then walked past me. Chapter 19, Battle of the Eastern District. After that, my 5th round of duels began. Stepping onto the C1 dueling arena in the 3rd battle area, his opponent appeared before him. They both silently inserted their student cards into the dueling machine slots, and the countdown for their duel began. More and more students gathered, as the competition had reached its final stages, with most of the contestants eliminated. This was the final match for my Group B. My opponent was already slowly revving his engines, waiting to attack. At the end of the countdown, he stepped on the ground with one foot and leaped into the air. This time, my opponent was a boy with a record of 12 wins and 3 losses. The mech he piloted wasn't an air-type mech. Although it was flying, the thrusters behind it made it clear that it was a low-altitude mech. To clarify, I learned in my textbooks at Academy that low-altitude mechas lack wings like air-type mechas, nor do they possess the immense strength and endurance of ground-type mechas. The low-altitude mech, with a stabilizer and thrusters located below its lower back, is a cross between ground-based and aerial mechas. It can fly at low altitudes and possesses greater power than typical aerial mechas. However, its drawbacks are also significant. It's relatively well-rounded mech, but it's also quite difficult to operate, which is why few pilots use it. Then, after flying a short distance in mid-air, the mech landed on a nearby building. It gazed at me, then leaped up again, charging towards the dark yellow mech. The mech showed no intention of hiding and attacked head-on. Seeing this, I extended my arms to meet it. With a resounding crash, the two collided. The mech might have thought it could use the thrust to knock me away, but it misjudged. In the next moment, my dark yellow mech intercepted it, then spun 360 degrees and launched it forward, crashing into the simulated building nearby. Seizing this opportunity, I commanded the dark yellow mech, giving chase and delivering a final wave of attacks. A flurry of blows drained the opponent's HP like water. The winner was quickly determined. The winner of Group B has been announced, Xingze from Class A13, the referee announced, and the surrounding students applauded. In the audience, many students were discussing, Group A seems to have finished just now. Yes, the winner seems to have already headed to the central venue. Now, all first-year students, please gather at the central venue as soon as possible. Everyone must arrive before 3 o'clock. Following the teacher's words, the students gradually left the area. Before heading to the central venue, the students of Class A13 gathered, took a head count, and then formed a line to head there. It was now 2:35 p.m., and by 3 o'clock the Eastern Division Finals would begin. Because I was one of the finalists, I didn't return to class. Instead, I was led by a staff member directly to the players' lounge inside the central venue. I'd noticed earlier, as I was passing by, that this central venue boasted a much larger dueling area than typical arenas. It was roughly the size of a football field, and there were even more spectator seats surrounding it, situated on a raised platform. The teacher next to me explained that this venue is reserved for important mecha duels, and that the first-year students were using it for the final round of today's friendly match between classmates. Then, at 3 o'clock, the announcement signaled me to emerge from the lounge. Now begins the East District first place match. Both teams, please take your seats, the host shouted, and several figures emerged from the east and west entrances. I emerged from the entrance with the instructor next to me. The instructor explained some relevant instructions, which were simple enough. I nodded and headed towards the center of the arena. As we reached the center of the arena, another boy, Qin Lang, approached from the opposite side. I thought you'd come here, and as we agreed, let's have a duel, Qin Lang said. Yes, I won't hold back, that's right. The two exchanged a smile as a token of respect, then turned back to the east and west sides of the duel arena to prepare for their match. They each inserted their student cards into the slots on their respective sides. After verification, their portraits appeared on the large screen in the center. My record is 15 wins and 0 losses, while the others is 18 wins and 0 losses. Meanwhile, most of the students chatting and looking around in the stands turned their gazes towards the central venue. The duel arena was a mixture of rock and simulated buildings. As the countdown reached 0, the white mecha at the forefront soared into the sky. That mecha, clad entirely in white, was Qin Liang's own private machine. Its sleek design shone brightly in the sunlight, and in its right hand, it held a slender, sharp white blade. After a slight mid-air movement, it suddenly rushed towards them. Without hesitation, it attacked head-on. It flew past numerous obstacles and struck a dark yellow mech in an open area. I braced myself for the attack, spreading the giant figure's arms. Suddenly, a white figure flashed by, brushing past me in an instant. My HP dropped by 8%, and I took a blow to the shoulder from a blade. In a split second, it passed me by, accelerating even faster as it approached, leaving me unable to react. Then, it darted into the sky behind me, pivoting slightly, and flew towards my mech, its target, at breakneck speed. As it did so, I could see a pair of sky blue wings behind the white mech overhead, emitting a shower of deep blue light particles. It seemed as if, beneath these particles, the white mech burst forth at an even more astonishing speed, hurtling towards me. In a flash, it passed me again. So fast, the continuous back and forth attacks, their speed and frequency surpassing any I'd encountered before, left me with no opportunity to counterattack. Staying still would be dangerous. The next moment, I drove KO forward, and the opponent took this opportunity to attack from behind. Witnessing this, I maneuvered KO to dodge the attack. The white figure flashed by. I still had no chance of catching it. Meanwhile, I also headed to the center of the arena. To cope with the astonishing speed, the mech's vision alone wasn't enough. I needed to use my eyes to expand my field of vision and capture the target. Staying still would have been blocked by numerous obstacles. I removed my goggles, they wouldn't be much use for a gem holder. Facing such an opponent, if I continued with my casual approach at this stage, I would undoubtedly have no chance of victory. My eyes closed, and I focused even more. Having learned the opponent's speed from the previous few exchanges, I had also done some warm-up exercises. The next moment, my dark yellow figure suddenly took off, sprinting along the rocky ground. My speed was astonishing. In an instant, I leaped several times onto a massive rock, leveraging its height to soar skyward. The white mech charged towards its target. Seeing its approach, the dark yellow mech clenched its fist and launched a powerful punch. However, the blow was dodged just as it approached. Despite the suddenness of the attack, the opponent made no mistake. Then, my mech plummeted from a height of 20 feet in the air. I timed my landing and maneuvered KO onto his feet. High altitude wasn't a problem, even the ground had cushioning devices, releasing a stream of air through cracks to mitigate the pressure of the descent. To deal with such a fast opponent, my reaction speed needed to be at least fast enough to keep up. In reality, the primordial spirit wasn't slow, it was simply rarely used. After all, I'd never encountered an opponent like him before, leaving me no room to maneuver. Now was the perfect time, with all the necessary conditions in place, to test the power of the ultimate primordial spirit. Now was the time to prove it. Gazing at the incoming white mech, my dark yellow figure's gaze flashed. I stomped my foot on the ground and suddenly leaped upward, striking the aerial foe with a concentrated blow. Qin Liang's expression paled. Sensing the dark yellow monster's powerful momentum, his first move was to dodge its cannonball-like punch. The white mech, surging forward at breakneck speed, couldn't break in time, so it resorted to a sideways roll to avoid the blow. His quick judgment was remarkable, and his white figure dodged the dark yellow monster's attack in a flash. He didn't retreat, even if a head-on collision wasn't enough, he still had to strike with his weapon. But in that instant, Qin Liang's white mech was sent flying by the immense impact. It was an invisible force, a massive fist that didn't directly touch him, merely struck him. But even that sent the white mech spinning in the air several times before it stumbled to a stop, its HP significantly reduced. The heavy blow unsteadied the white mech. Qin Liang felt a surge of pressure at that moment. True strength, the outcome was now shrouded in uncertainty, and the audience in the stands couldn't predict the outcome. This was a duel between the Academy's fastest man in the sky and the strongest man on the ground. There was no room for strategy, both sides charged head-on. The explosive power generated by extreme speed, the speed generated by astonishing strength, was genuine. In the blink of an eye, Qin Liang's white machine landed on the rocks, its wings damaged. Indeed, it had been damaged by the previous impact, and he was defeated. The match is over. The winner of the East Division is Xingze. As soon as the words fell, the stage erupted in cheers. Some applauded, others looked unwilling, and some were even heartbroken. They were indeed the girls. After the result was displayed on the big screen, scattered applause echoed from the audience. Most of the people had expected Xingze to win. They could only call the result incredible, and those who had bet on his victory were simply unlucky. I felt relieved by the result, my doubts dispelled. I had no idea why I had fought so hard, but it was what I had hoped for. Xingze stared at his white mech, closed his eyes slightly, and then headed out the other passage. I followed him out the other way. It wasn't an incredible result, just that second place beat first. And after this match, there was a showdown with the winner from the other side, so I returned to the lounge. Chapter 20 After the War. During the break, I sat in the lounge, watching the South Division finals unfold on the screen. On the east side of the arena, a young man named Rock, with an 18-1 record, competed. On the other side, Linke, with a 15-3 record, was a celestial mech user. At the start of the match, Rock's golden mech and his opponent's blue mech soared high into the sky. This meant an aerial duel was about to begin. Rock's golden mech, captured on the big screen, appeared intact, just like Xingze's white mech. After a brief exchange of attack and defense, Rock's golden mech gained the upper hand in speed. A golden glow emanated from behind its wings. When the light shone, its speed suddenly accelerated dramatically. This phenomenon, I observed, had also occurred during Xingze's time, a sudden burst of acceleration. Immediately, the golden mech flew to the opponent's side. Its massive arms gestured as if extending a palm. Within these palms, a white light suddenly condensed, forming a beam that struck the opponent's mech's torso. The impact destabilized the opponent, causing its HP to drop by approximately 8%. It then unleashed a series of laser attacks, defeating the opponent in less than a minute. It was over. It was a skillful duel, but the golden mech still sustained minimal damage. Another 15 minutes passed, during which the host outside the venue announced the results of the day's first-year class. Then came the final showdown between the East and South districts. Following the prompt, I quickly left the lounge and entered the arena. Then, the South district's victor, Rock, approached me. He was a mature-looking man with side-parted bangs, his gaze radiating a fighting spirit. "Want to fight?" I asked. "Of course, then you win," I said, pointing to the dark yellow mech not far away. "Are you admitting defeat? I see. That's because your training machine was severely damaged in the previous battle." "Yes, my only reservation is to fight Xingze," I whispered to the young man before me. The dark yellow mech currently parked at the edge of the duel had one arm broken off, and its body was covered in wounds. It could no longer stand up to the man before me on equal terms. "In that case, we can switch to another one." After all, Xingze was the opponent I had originally expected to face. The man said this, explaining to the referee standing beside us that the rules forbid switching, but many spectators still wanted to see the final battle. Just as the referees were about to call their superiors, I refused. "Forget it, that student wins." With that, I left, and Rock became the first in his class. With that, the friendly match between classmates came to an end. After lining up to listen to the head of the grade, the students dispersed. The only person I felt sorry for was Rock, the man who seemed to want us to face each other fairly. After that, I hurried home as usual. By the time I reached room 302 in the student apartment building, the sky was already dim. I unlocked the door with my key and entered the room. I quickly saw my sister's shoes on the shoe rack. Yes, she had returned. My sister Lan Yu was sitting on the sofa in the hall. "Brother, are you back?" "Yeah." As I walked over to her, she looked at me with a hint of interest. "How did it go?" Lan Yu said. "It's over. I lost in the end. Are you satisfied with that?" "I don't know. Next, think about it. What's your future?" "You haven't decided yet, right?" "How do you know?" "My intuition." "You're right. I'll think about it. Let's eat." "Dinner is ready," Lan Yu said, walking towards the table. After the food arrived, we began to eat. "Let's go out together this weekend." "What are you going to?" "The amusement park." "There?" "It's a place for kids, but that's fine." "The amusement park." It hadn't been in ages, I agreed. Yet, after dinner, I spent the rest of the day watching TV, then took a shower and went to bed the next day, I woke up on a bright, sunny morning and had a dream, a vivid, incredibly real one. It was a dream of the future, set in the near future, perhaps within a few years. The world was facing a crisis. Dark monsters were invading, and the true crisis was imminent. I saw this scene, and within it, a mysterious giant told me, "You have the power to avert this crisis. Please practice diligently." Afterwards, I went to school as usual. Since winning the East District Championship yesterday, my rank as a Mecha user had been upgraded from entry level to senior. Climbing this rank is actually a rather difficult process. Mecha users are generally divided into 5 levels: entry, veteran, elite, top, and ace. This was discussed in class. On the way to class A13, many students noticed me. Although I was relatively unknown until recently, my victory over Xingze yesterday had garnered considerable attention. Some girls, however, even looked at me with hostility. I walked down the corridor and quickly arrived at the classroom. I was praised by many classmates for my victory yesterday. "See, people from the same school as me are different, that doesn't really matter to you," the red-haired man boasted again, but his boast was quickly exposed. After the competition, school resumed as usual. I spent the morning in class and, during lunch break, sat in my seat for a while before heading to the cafeteria. Walking along the corridor toward the stairwell, I turned a corner and bumped into another girl from my class, a girl with short, light blue hair. I felt a little familiar with her. Xingze? Going to the cafeteria? Yeah, I agreed. We actually did it yesterday, Xingze. I almost lost that one, so I guess I got lucky. Really? Anyway, I'll be happy to help you from now on, Xingze said, looking over. Thank you. After that, we headed toward the cafeteria together. Chapter 21 Learning. That evening, I resumed my nightly training with my sister, which had become a part of my daily routine. The next day, I spent a morning at school as usual. After the second class in the afternoon, only one elective remained. This course was open to students based on their preferences. For me, the only thing I could do was train with Mechas. The basics were already a thing, but that was probably my opinion, though after my battle with Xingze, I changed my mind. Anyway, I decided to head to the training ground for this elective class. With that in mind, I was heading towards the grounds when a half-open door in the corridor had suddenly opened, revealing a familiar figure. She was wearing a green worksuit, long crimson hair, and a hat. She was a striking young woman. "Xingze, long time no see," Guanling said, waving softly. Guanling, I hadn't seen her in the last few days, and for a moment, I'd almost forgotten about her. Indeed, she had said she often stayed at this academy. "It's only been a few days since we last met. Have you forgotten? We're a master-disciple kind of relationship, but you're older than me, so just call me Ling." Guanling said this, walking towards me. "She'd said that before, so just call me that." "I see. Do you have any plans for the next class?" "Yes, I came specifically to find you. Let's study together. I told you before that I wanted to talk to you about the origin spirit, is that so?" "Now, yes, are you free?" "Yes," I nodded slightly. Then Guanling gently tugged at my sleeve and began walking to the other side of the corridor. "Let's go then." "Where to?" "The next class is an elective, I know, so it's fine if you come with me. Now we're going to my private room. Even though it's not mine, I've always been alone there." Guanling pulled me along, heading towards the deep, rotten room. Really, this was the first time I'd been led by a girl like this, so we walked to the end of the second-floor corridor, deep inside, past 2 corners to the innermost area, and then to the second-to-last room. Guanling paused. "We're here." She pulled a card from her pocket and swiped it on the machine next to the door. The door opened a few seconds after the card was verified. "Let's go," Guanling continued. Oh, this was the second time I'd been led to a room. I glanced around and saw a large room surrounded by numerous bookshelves filled with books. It must be a library. "Yeah, this is my private room," Guanling said, holding up one hand. Then she walked deeper into the room, past the vertical bookshelves. We reached the end of the room together. There was a window covered with blue curtains. Next to it was a wooden table and chairs. Guanling stopped there. "Sit down and study here." "Here," I said, taking a seat. "Yes," Guanling nodded in satisfaction, then walked over to me and took the seat next to me. I thought it might be more appropriate for her to sit across from me, but she seemed to prefer the seat next to me, just like before in the cafe. I've always felt that Xingze's original spirit was some special being, something that lured me towards it. Now let's test it and see what yours is. As she spoke, a ray of red light shone from Guanling's hand. She opened it and saw a crimson gem in her palm. As she released her grip, the gem began to float in the air. What is this? In the slightly dim room, the gem's radiance illuminated our surroundings. It's my ability, materialized. It's the Philosopher's Stone, capable of detecting the origins of primordial spirits. The Philosopher's Stone? What should I do then? Calm down, look at the stone, then reach out and touch it, Guanling said. I opened and closed my eyes, gazing at the shimmering stone floating in the air, and then reached out to touch it. My hand touched the surface of the polygonal ruby and held that position. Well, that's all. Slowly lower your hand, Guanling said. Hearing this, I released my hand from the stone, resting it on the table. Looking at the ruby, ripples appeared around it, as if something was changing within. Suddenly, different colors of light emanated, and the ruby's light became a riot of color. It was a truly mysterious hue. Guanling stared at the stone, her gaze intensely focused. It's about to appear. The gem's colors shifted endlessly, and just as it was about to reveal something, a sudden black shadow enveloped it, instantly obscuring all light. The gem turned black, and in the next instant, it exploded. It shattered into countless fragments in the air and slowly vanished. What's going on? A gust of wind blew by, and silence fell again. My Philosopher's Stone has been destroyed. That means your primordial spirit is quite extraordinary, so, does that mean the origin of my primordial stone can't be traced? No, there's another way. My femuname is of the highest quality, truly a demigod. The possibility that yours could destroy a Philosopher's Stone forged from that highest quality is most likely because it's of the highest quality, divine, divinity. What's that? There are various primordial stone spirits, and divine is the highest level among them. It's indeed extremely rare, but nothing to be surprised about. After all, I set my sights on it from the beginning. I listened in silence. Next, let's go outside. Xingze. Where to? By the pond. That stone, for some reason, resisted my power, and that's why the Philosopher's Stone was destroyed. But I have another way to make it manifest, Guanling said as she walked out the door. I followed her, curious about what was happening within me right now and wanted to know its true nature. What good will it do to the pond? I said. There, femuname can unleash even more power. I've cultivated with that primordial spirit to a considerable degree, so it should be possible. Really? That's incredible. We walked all the way to a pond nestled in the jungle behind the academy. It was a large, park-like place, truly a prestigious academy. Guanling and I walked along a path through the jungle to the pond. Guanling paused at the bank, and I stood just behind her. Guanling slowly extended a hand once again, raising it toward the sky. A crimson glow emanated from her palm, as if countless particles of light had appeared, gradually forming a circular pattern. Reflected on the water's surface, Guanling could be seen clasping her hands together, leaning on one knee, her eyes closed, intensely focused on something she was performing, seemingly a ritual. She muttered a spell softly and rapidly for nearly 20 seconds. Suddenly, the sky darkened. Looking up, she saw a dark cloud obscuring the land. Along with the cloud, the reflection in the water also turned pitch black. Ripples suddenly rippled, countless waves rising and falling from the inside outward. In that moment, a gigantic, dark golden humanoid figure emerged from the water. Success. Guanling opened her eyes, took in the scene before her, and took a step back, squatting on one leg. Sweat still dripped down her forehead. Did you summon me? The dark gold giant roared, deep and resonant like a lion. Yes, Guanling responded. I have some impression of that dark gold giant. I did see him in a dream, but his color was much darker then. You're here, Xingze. The girl next to you was able to summon me. That's not bad, it's a result. Where are you from, and why do you recognize my name? I asked. Where I'm from. There's no need to explain it right now. But remember one thing, Xingze. Not long after, you also saw that scene in your dream. Do you remember that scene? Is it that dim world? Yes, that's best not to think of it as just a dream, but a calamity destined to happen within the next few years. What does that mean? Perhaps it's fate. The life you inherited is inextricably linked to that being. Fate cannot be escaped. In that moment, I was deeply shocked by the words spoken by the one before me. The shock of the unknown surged within me, as if I had awakened after a long time. Why is that, Mr. Giant? Guanling said, still half crouching. Because that's karma. I'm just passing it on to you. If it can't be severed, let me be drawn into that karma as well. Guanling, you possess the power to make me manifest here. From that moment on, you've been drawn into it, really? That's wonderful, Guanling chuckled. Li Xingze, practice more as a cultivator. The dark old giant paused, turning his gaze back to me. Mr. Giant, I understand now, Guanling said, standing up. She then stood beside me and took my hand. I will help Xingze with his practice. I wish to grow with him. Guanling's words caused the giant to fall silent. He looked at the face before him, still smiling and filled with joy, and remained unmoved. Is that so? Guanling smiled at me. At this moment, the giant reflected in the water could not help but shook his head. There is no time. I will disappear here, and it may be difficult to meet again in the future. As he spoke, the giant reflected in the water was gradually washed away by the ripples of the water. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Learning. Then the strange clouds that had been thick in the sky dissipated, and the sky cleared once again. Sunlight filtered through the branches, revealing that it was afternoon, not night. Did the giant disappear? I asked Guanling. Yes, it will probably be difficult to summon him again, just like the giant said. Let's go back, I said, heading towards the forest path. Guanling followed me. It's probably good that there's no one around. It was so noisy just now. Didn't anyone see it? I don't know. It's a good thing if they did. It could have been very troublesome. That's right. Please give me your guidance from now on, Xingze, you too. With that, we returned to the academy. The pond in the woods was quite deep, so few people usually lingered there. That was the end of the day. An elective class passed quickly, and we parted ways. Although we would likely see each other more frequently in the future, the girls seemed to have plenty of free time every day. On the second day, Guanling's teaching continued, and I duly arrived at the meeting place, in the old study. A mostly unused library, Guanling's base. Today, I was there too, sitting in a chair, flipping through a book about rough stone owners. It was indeed the latest edition, and it explained the four main types of rough stone owners: earth, sea, sky, and radiance. The radiance type was the rarest, reportedly accounting for only 1 in 200 rough stone owners. As for the basics, the holder and the primordial spirit share sight, hearing, and touch. For the primordial spirit to do something, it consumes its own energy, Guanling said. I understand. The primordial spirit, unattached to the mecha, manifests directly. I can only keep it going for about 3 minutes, I responded. You're already a senior level player, so it's not bad. But that's why I'm going to teach you about the use of power. Power? Do you mean the power within the primordial spirit? That spirit hides infinite potential, but I can still teach you a little bit. Ling, go ahead. I understand. Guanling smiled and began to explain. Like the human body, the primordial stone spirit possesses boundless potential, but it's limited. Unlike humans, the primordial spirit's potential can be more easily unleashed, requiring far fewer conditions than a human body. It is originally an existence full of spiritual tranquility and with few obstacles. To remove its power, the first thing is to sense it, the sense between man and the original spirit. It starts with trust, and with continuous understanding, it will be improved. To completely reach the highest realm, one must continue to work hard to practice. After Guanling explained it this way, I had a lot of questions, so I said, I have almost no connection with that primordial spirit now, and I can't make any progress at all. Xingze, didn't you say that starting from faith, there will be a day when it will bear fruit? It doesn't mean that we have to talk to each other to be meaningful, really? I see. A few days ago, and even earlier, Xingze, when you were fighting with a primordial spirit, your attack power or other abilities suddenly increased dramatically in a certain system. Such a phenomenon should have occurred, right? Yes, it did. There was a glow. That glowing phenomenon was the response you had before, but it was just calling on a small part of the ability. Except for the one as small as dust, Guanling said. Really? It is indeed that profound and subtle primordial spirit. It will become stronger. You have already had a sense of it. At least your future journey will not stagnate. I see. Ling breathed a sigh of relief and leaned back in the chair. What I said is guidance after all. The key still depends on yourself, and I can't be considered a master. It's okay. Let's practice together, of course. Guanling chuckled at me. One more thing, Xingze. Your mech isn't using weapons in combat right now, is it? What's going on? Well, I'm planning on using a sword, but I haven't mastered it enough to use it better than my hands. There's a weapon that might be better, but my sister told me not to use it until I've mastered it. Sword? I use a sword too. That's great. We can learn together, Guanling said. I've seen her wield a sword before, and it was a chilling sight. Besides that, how did you know I don't have a weapon? I secretly watched during the previous competition, so I know. Is that so? I understand her interest in voyeurism. After all, she tricked me once before. She has flaws in every aspect, and they occasionally come to light, like someone with an on-off switch. From now on, I'll be training with this girl, not only with a primordial spirit but also with swordsmanship. A few days later, we practiced at the training grounds in Area B1 of the Academy. Regarding swordsmanship training, I only did the basics, but it wasn't just the usual swinging of the sword. I'd already mastered the swinging motion at home, and these days I've mostly been doing it with my sister, Lan Yu. She's quite a capable human, and with her help, I wasn't doing too badly. I must have found the right path. The difference between swinging the sword and the usual swinging was that this time, the primordial spirit and I were practicing together, cultivating its power and gaining greater proficiency. Through Guanling's guidance, I now had a better understanding of the practice method. It's a practice aimed at achieving harmony, a practice that requires the integration of human and primordial spirit. I can see, Xingze is doing very well. That's all thanks to you. No, you're welcome, Guanling said, slightly embarrassed. I've spent a lot of time practicing with Guanling these days, and I've also observed her swordsmanship. Her skill and grace are truly far superior to mine, the result of years of accumulated experience. It's already this good. Why not try equipping that mech as well? That'll take a while, really. After a while of independent practice, I swung my sword, causing it to transform into a dark glow and retract into my palm. That's all for today. School's over, I said, glancing at the digital clock. Okay, I wiped my sweat with a towel, threw on my white-green school uniform, and prepared to leave the training ground. Goodbye. Okay, I nodded and left. After the training, I returned to class, packed my bag, and headed home. Walking briskly, I once again passed through the bustling streets, and after about 10 minutes, I was home. After dinner, as usual, and then an hour later, I watched my sister Lan Yu's individual training and practiced with her for a while. I might have unconsciously compared my sister to Guanling, but they were both very strong. After that, I practiced a little more, wiped my sweat with a towel, and went outside to pour myself a glass of water. Brother, go shower first. I'll wait for you later. I happened to run into my sister, who said, okay. Following Lan Yu's advice, I went into the bathroom and took a quick shower. That was all for the day. Before bedtime, I planned to watch some TV. Lan Yu did the same. She sat on the sofa with me, staring blankly at the screen before retiring. The next day, it was drizzling. The temperature had dropped significantly recently, so I had to consider buying some warm clothes. After all, coming from the countryside, I wasn't prepared. With the arrival of this cold snap, I had already spent more than half a semester at Holy Water Spiritual Academy. Chapter 23 Transfer Student. While the title of Original Stoneholder is widely known in the New Century City, few truly believe in its existence. This is because the holder of the Origin Stone possesses certain supernatural abilities, able to summon a special being through the sky, the ground, the sea, and the light. In a city where mecha technology is so advanced, this could easily be seen by ordinary people through optical camouflage, deception, and magic. Some who have witnessed it firsthand would have this in mind, unable to believe its existence. There are many such people, and I would probably be the same if I weren't an Origin Stone holder. Xingze, rest here for a while, Guanling said. That's right, I retracted the sword that had been transformed from the Origin Stone and relaxed my wrist. Since Ling became my personal instructor, she has spent a lot of time with me in recent days. As my teacher, Guanling has done a good job, helping me with many things. Today, we were training on a patch of grass in the academy's backyard, before school started in the morning. It wasn't just us, many other students were also engaged in their own training. Most of the training focused on physical fitness, strength, and conditioning, which was par for the course at this academy. It wasn't just the mech itself, the operator's skill was crucial. Not only did it affect the mech they were piloting, but in actual combat situations, operators often faced danger. Therefore, personal training was crucial. The course also included numerous exercises designed to strengthen the operators themselves. After training for a while, it was time for a break. The two of us sat on stone benches sunk deep into the ground, on either side of the grass. Xingze, what a beautiful day today, indeed. The sky was still cloudless and sunny. A gentle breeze rustled the surrounding grass, bringing a sense of the fresh air. Weekend, are you free on the weekend? Weekend? I don't think so, at least not one day. What a shame. In that case, we'll talk about it later, Ling said. We sat on the stone bench for a while, then went our separate ways. I was going to the classroom to prepare for class, while Guanling also had some work to do. It was almost time for class, and I just happened to walk into the A13 classroom. As I sat down at my seat, the bell rang beautifully, just in time so that not a single minute was wasted. The short-haired homeroom teacher came to the podium in those 10 seconds, and her first class was hers. Well, everyone, there's another transfer student joining our class today, Wu Feng said, rolling his eyes. The students sitting below were all shocked. They were all very interested in the fact that there was a transfer student at this time, and they talked to each other about it. Teacher, is the transfer students you're talking about a boy or a girl? Be quiet, Wu Feng said, gazing at the noisy students below. A few seconds later, he gestured for the transfer students outside the classroom door to come in. A moment later, a petite girl with a red bow in her hair walked in. She was wearing a white dress with numerous red stripes. That one, the girl hesitated, looking at Wu Feng. It's okay. Introduce yourself. At Wu Feng's gentle reminder, the girl walked back to the center, facing the class, and bowed her head slightly. I'm Li Shuhui. I just transferred from another school. Thank you for your guidance, the girl nodded, concluding her introduction. The boys in the class were overjoyed, applauding in welcome. Okay, Shuhui, take the empty seat over there. Following Wu Feng's instructions, the girl slowly made her way to the seat in front of me, previously occupied by the red-haired boy, who seemed to be absent today. Anyway, the change from red to a red bow was a welcome relief. The girl sat in her seat, her head twitching from side to side, the red bow tied at the back of her hair swaying with it. Suddenly, she glanced over here. She glanced at me, behind her, with a hint of curiosity. I didn't know what she was looking at, but it wasn't anything to worry about. For the next class, the transfer student's seat was fixed in front of me, while the red-haired boy, after being replaced, was moved to a corner. It was a fairly uneventful day, the highlight being the transfer student, but it ended quickly. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the bell rang, and I grabbed my backpack and left. I walked out of the academy gates at my usual leisurely pace. After exiting the gate, I turned left and continued along the straight path ahead for a distance, which would soon lead me to my home. I was walking down this bustling street just like usual today, but along the way, I sensed a subtle shift in aura. It was a presence. If I tilted my head slightly and glanced back, I could see a girl not far away, seemingly following me. That wasn't a big deal, but what was noticeable was that the girl, wearing a red bow in her hair, had been following me all the way from the school gate until now, which was a bit puzzling. She looked around curiously. She was the transfer student, joining this school for the first time today, and now she was in the same class as me. So, perhaps her route home was similar to mine. That's how it turned out. I thought so, and continued walking until I reached an intersection ahead, where I was forced to stop at a red light. At the traffic light, I saw the girl again. She had a questioning expression on her face, about 5 meters away from me. When the light turned green, I continued walking, ignoring her, thinking it was probably because our paths were similar. With that in mind, I continued walking towards the student housing complex. It took me longer than usual to reach the outskirts of the student housing complex. All I had to do was turn a corner and enter. I turned and walked through the main entrance, catching a glimpse of the girl on the way. Even so, it was time to say goodbye. I entered a building and ascended the stairs leading to one of the buildings. A moment later, I arrived at my door. I saw the number marked 302 and prepared to open it with my key. Then, I felt a presence approaching. Glancing to the side, I spotted the girl with the red bow in her hair. She had followed me. "Why are you here?" I'd assumed she was just passing by, but I was surprised to find herself here. I clearly didn't remember her being a neighbor. Room 302, is that it? The girl said softly, looking up slightly. Room 302? It's here, but that's my house. Perhaps it was a friend of my sister's? The girl was surprised at my reply. Her already large eyes widened into an oval shape, yet she still looked bewildered. She lowered her head in thought for a moment, then, as if a light bulb had lit up above her head, she looked over at me. Could it be Xingze? A glimmer of anticipation shone in her eyes as she gazed at me. Yes, it's indeed me, as expected. Brother. You are my brother. With that, the petite girl leaped over with joy. Short as she was, she wrapped her arms around my waist, nuzzling her face against my white school uniform's chest. So, who are you? I asked, a bit confused. Brother, who was this girl? Since she called me brother, I pondered, but I had no memory of her. Indeed, my sister was supposed to be a child named Lanyu. Just as I was thinking of that sister, she happened to be returning from school. She walked to the third-floor corridor, staring silently at me for a moment, then, with a look of displeasure on her face, ran over. Hey, who are you? Why are you claiming to be someone's brother at someone else's doorstep? Is something wrong? Lanyu rushed over and hugged the girl's waist. No, that's not right. That's my brother. What's going on? This girl insists she's your sister. Xingze, what did you do? Wait, she just met me not long ago, I explained, wondering if my sister had misunderstood. After Lanyu's efforts, the girl finally released her grip. She reached into her skirt pocket and pulled out something like a piece of paper, presenting it to the two of us. Lanyu and I glanced over. It was a photo of Shuho in casual clothes, looking similar to how she looks now. So far, nothing special, a cute girl. But the highlight was that next to the girl in the photo, there was a familiar figure, a man named her father. This is, so, I'm really your sister. Here's the proof. No way. Lanyu and I both looked a little shocked. Later, Lanyu called the father to confirm, and it was indeed true. In fact, before my parents divorced, even before that, he had raised another child, Shuhua, a daughter out of wedlock, without telling my sister or me. The shocking thing was that my parents knew, and only Lanyu and I knew now. So, it was true. A closer look at the girl before us revealed a resemblance to Lanyu. Shocked, the two of them let Shuhua into their home. Chapter 24: A Day in the Life of a Transfer Student. Shuhua arrived in the living room and sat on the sofa. Lanyu was cooking dinner, and I was also sitting on the sofa. What could I say about the current situation? I probably had a lot of questions I wanted to share with this newly recognized sister. Brother, please give me more guidance from now on. Shuhua, sitting next to me, said with a chuckle, and I nodded. Brother, do you remember we met before? Really? Yes, it was when I was 8. Back then, you came to my house, and I think we went to a jungle together. Didn't you call me Shuhua? The word Shuhua suddenly popped into my mind. I did have a similar name, but perhaps because it was so long ago, my memory was a bit hazy. I see, it seems so, right, brother. We shook hands, and soon after, dinner was ready. My two sisters and I sat at the table. It was a rare occasion for the three of us to have dinner together. Sister, it seems you're quite a cook. Really? Shuho stated the truth, nothing surprising. It's just a normal one, Lanyu said a little embarrassedly. Shuho, are you staying here too? I asked. No, I have other places in the area. I came here today because of a tip from my father. Of course, I wanted to see you, really. Shuho is younger than me, calling me sister, Lanyu asked, looking at Shuho. 15, oh, she's really a sister, Lanyu confirmed the girl was indeed a sister and gently stroked her head. Sister, and brother Xingze. Are you biological siblings? Shuho said nonchalantly. Yes, you and I are cousins. I understand, something you might not understand, the law in this country prohibits marriage between siblings, Shuho said. Huh? Nothing, not a big deal. Just saying. Brother Xingze and I were in the same class, and we sat next to each other. Next to each other? Lanyu's mind raced with a cascade of doubts, and her eyes suddenly looked lost. She was indeed in a different school. After that, Shuho and I finished dinner with the other two, and she prepared to leave. She walked briskly to the door, turned back, and waved. It's getting late. I'm going home. By the way, aren't you living with anyone now? I said. I live alone, but I have pets. Goodbye, Shuho waved. Be careful. With that, Shuho walked away with small steps. Back to normal. Lanayu and I spent the day as normal. The next day, after breakfast, I walked to school, which was about 5 minutes away. Most people were already in their seats by this time, and I was walking into the classroom, heading for my seat. As I reached the second to last table, Shuho, sitting there, said softly, "Good morning." "Good," I replied and returned to my seat. Shuho, sitting in the front row, then turned and asked, "Brother, how are you? Is school life going well?" "Fine, really." Shuho turned back. She was now wearing the school uniform, a white uniform with green stripes embroidered on the edges. It fitted her well. "Brother, what's going on?" Suddenly, the students nearby began to whisper. "No way, calling him brother already, that guy, he's really not to be underestimated." "This is already," another girl commented. Jiuhua, at the next table, continued flipping through her book, unconcerned. At the table in front of Shuhua, a young man with a mushroom-like hairstyle walked over and asked, "Xingze, what's your relationship with this person?" Diaribo, another highly ranked student in the class, sat right at the table in front of Shuhua. Brother and sister, is that the case? No wonder, but I didn't seem to see you two interacting at all yesterday. I'm so sorry, no, we didn't recognize each other yesterday. It's been so long. The classmates around the class were a little shocked, but they soon adjusted. Is that so? Diaribo glanced at Shuhua and said, "Shuhua, I'm Diaribo. Thank you for your guidance." Okay. A moment later, as class was about to begin, a man with red hair walked out of the classroom. He walked slowly, step by step, to the table in front of me. "Oh? What's going on? Is that so? You're the one taking my seat, the transfer student? You look pretty, but because of you, I'm moving to that corner, and I'll be there from now on. I'm not going to give you my seat just because you're pretty. Tell me, what do you need to do to satisfy me?" The red-haired man rested his chin on his hand, a strange grin on his face. How much? How much? What's with that attitude? Am I some kind of mortal who can be bribed? It's just a joke. I don't really care where my seat is, but the person sitting behind me is my brother, whom I haven't seen in ages. We haven't seen each other for a long time, so let me sit here, Shuho said. The red-haired man, listening nearby, was shocked, and for some reason, looked a little ashamed. Is that so? I'm so sorry to bother you. Then the class began, the last class of the morning, the Mecha practical course. The other students had already arrived at the training ground, most of them donning goggles, ready to operate their mechas. Basic courses like that will be held tomorrow. Of course, as a specialized Mecha user, there will be more intensive training, and the level of difficulty is not without its limitations. At this moment, Shuho tugged at the edge of my shirt. Brother, I'm not very good at that kind of thing, she said softly. Shuho had been following me closely all morning. A new student arriving suddenly wouldn't be able to adapt to such an unfamiliar environment all at once, so this was probably quite normal. Not good? I'm just doing the basics. It's okay if I can't do it well, really? But there are some operational issues I still don't understand. Didn't you pass the assessment? Yes, I only told my brother that I'm the one with the ability. My type is radiant. Getting into this academy is indeed not easy, but I got in easily because I'm that rare type, Shuho whispered beside me. Radiant? I've heard of that type. It's indeed quite rare. In this academy, approximately 1/5 of the students are gem holders. Among them, the most common type is terrain, the less common is sky, and the extremely rare is radiant. According to Guanling, it accounts for 1/200th of all gem holders. And as far as I know, the only radiant in this academy is the one who won first place in the friendly match among classmates. Brother, remember to keep this a secret. Don't tell anyone easily. Actually, I used to be just an ordinary resident of this city, but one day I came across a golden stone, which was later discovered, and that's how I came here. Really? Anyway, thank you for your hard work. Shuho waved her hand. No, it's nothing. It's great to see you here. As the two of them were whispering in a corner of the training ground, another girl approached. Xingze, It's training class now. Wanna practice? There's an obstacle course over there." The person who spoke was Lin Kin, a girl with light blue hair. Although she was a girl, she was one of my competitors in this class, and after several exchanges, she also became one of my few friends. This action caught Shuho's attention for a moment. Glancing over, she saw the woman with hair as light blue as the ocean. Her expression changed. "Who are you?" "My brother is training with me today. Go find the others." The obstacle course Lin Kin was referring to was a course specifically designed for mechas. Mecha users must maneuver through the obstacle course in the fastest possible time. Avoiding collisions or damage to the obstacles is crucial to their performance. You've been pestering Xingze since morning, brother? Anyway, it's class time now. You should be doing your homework, understand? Lin Kin's aquamarine eyes pierced Shuho's face. "What's up, you class monitor? I just wanted to ask you some basics." "I'm the class monitor." "Basics, aren't they simple? Don't you know how to do them?" Lin Kin said, gesturing to the mechas warming up nearby. Shuho lowered her head in agreement. Really, despite the need for secrecy, the truth was instantly revealed. There was a moment of silence, broken by a passing girl with long black hair. "I see. I understand. I have a good foundation. Do you need any help?" Chikyuho said, looking at Shuho. "Can I?" "Yes, I'm free, then, please." Shuho bowed and asked Chikyuho for advice. Immediately, Shuho led her to the training ground nearby. It was a great honor to have the best student in the class teaching. Chapter 25 Learning. Then, the weekend arrived. With a recent drop in temperature, my sister and I agreed to go to the mall on Saturday to buy some winter supplies. After all, this city gets incredibly cold in the winter, and with snow, the ground piles up. Shopping in the morning, but in the afternoon, brother, you didn't forget, did you? Lan Yu asked me. What, the amusement park? Oh, yeah, let's go this afternoon. Never mind, we're ready, let's go. After a quick chat, we both changed into our shoes and headed out together, heading to the mall to buy some clothes and other things. It was going to take quite a while, judging by what I'd seen before. My sister's shopping was always long, and as I'd expected, she spent the entire morning buying quite a bit. By the time we got home, carrying our belongings, it was already lunchtime, and after lunch, it was already afternoon. According to Lan Yu, we were headed to the amusement park next. It was located in the 13th district, called Julian Street, and was said to be a popular spot for students. Just in case, let me explain. This is my first time there. Don't count on me if you have any questions, Lan Yu said. Really? Then I'm the same as you. No problem, I replied. And we were off again. The exact location was a place called New Century Capital Amusement Park. Arriving at the entrance, we saw a rather large area. Because it was the weekend, the crowds were quite large, mostly minors, groups of students, parents with children, young couples, and so on. Of course, the amusement park had plenty of thrilling rides. If we didn't try them, we'd miss the point of coming. Anyway, after trying everything, the roller coaster, the carousel, and so on, we arrived at the entrance to the haunted house, which was also part of the itinerary. I could tell Lan Yu's silly expression wasn't anything unusual. It had happened several times before, but it wasn't over yet. So, we entered the dimly lit tunnels of the haunted house. Inside, there were all sorts of hideous monsters in various costumes, demons, vampires, ghosts. I passed them one by one, Lan Yu following behind. She was relatively calm, apparently trying not to scare me or let me see her expression, so she followed quietly. Until we reached a clump of trees, a phantom blue figure suddenly appeared. A three-eyed, legless monster. Its roar prompted Lan Yu to grab my arm. It wasn't over yet. Then, a faceless red creature emerged, sticking out its long tongue and hissing at us. Lan Yu screamed in fright. What is that? That feels weird, but before the already frightened Lan Yu could even begin, a young woman in a white robe appeared. Her skin was pale, and she grimaced, seemingly aiming for another attack on my sister. Surprisingly, the undead girl didn't frighten my sister. That's funny, you're quite cute, what's wrong? You should have screamed why? You're not scary at all, compared to those creatures. Lan Yu placed a hand on the undead girl's shoulder, pointing at the two ghosts. Never mind, it seems I don't have the talent, this time. The girl walked away from Lan Yu and approached me, then smiled at me. Behind her smile was indeed not to be feared, a gentle aura, but the creature behind me was not. Turning around, I saw another monster staring silently at me, which really sent a chill down my spine. When I turned back, the undead girl had disappeared. That afternoon passed like that, and at dusk, we took the bus home. The next day, another day off, I woke up shortly after, and a text message rang on my phone. I opened it and realized it was from Guanling. The message simply asked if I was free that day. Indeed, she had been looking for a time to meet me before, and today seemed to present such an opportunity, so I agreed. After some discussion, we agreed to meet in the afternoon. At 1:30 p.m., I left home and headed for the place I'd agreed to meet Guanling. It was a park not far from the student housing complex. Because it was so close, I arrived in no time. Beneath a streetlight, I saw our agreed spot. However, there wasn't a soul in sight, not even Guanling. Thinking I was a little early, I walked to a nearby wooden bench and sat down to wait. Looking around, I saw only fallen leaves in the wind. The area was deserted. It was autumn, and the weather was about to start. The city was quite cold, so it was natural that there were no people around. After waiting for a while, I spotted Guanling jogging towards me. Her red hair and distinctive aura made her instantly recognizable. "Sorry for the wait, Xingze," Guanling said as she approached me. "No, I just got here too. It's not the agreed time yet, really." Guanling and I stood by the bench, unsure of what to do next. "What's going on today?" "Yes, today we're going to experience the primordial spirit." "Primordial spirit? Come on, is that okay?" "No problem," I said. As Guanling spoke, a ray of red light emanated from her chest, shooting out into the air before her. In an instant, it transformed into a crimson humanoid. Looking around, it was a creature with a red exterior, a pair of transparent red and white wings on its back. Its face was a cold, elegant expression. It truly resembled a fairy, a female, floating in midair. "This is my primordial spirit, named Finamu," Guanling said. It was indeed a beautiful humanoid form. It was also a primordial spirit, which was understandable. However, the question was its size. It was about Guanling's height, very close to that of a human, like an elf. Is the size of the primordial spirit also like this? No, the size you're talking about can actually be changed freely. Generally, it wouldn't be difficult to change it to a height similar to the original person, is that so? Can I change the size of that primordial spirit, too? Yes, primordial spirits don't have a precise size. Everything is subjective, so of course, size can be changed through consciousness. I see. I'll give it a try. As I spoke, I began to understand something. With that concept in mind, I began to visualize the primordial spirit shrinking, then calling it out. On this flat ground, I could draw on the power of the earth and call upon it. In a blink of an eye, the primordial spirit appeared next to a wooden park bench. A turquoise-colored humanoid figure, wearing a green jacket, was only about 2 meters tall at this moment, roughly the height of a normal human. "So, I succeeded." "Well done, but you can change it even further," Guanling said. Beside her, Finamu, seemingly emanating a faint, hazy light, she seemed to have become even smaller, half her size, and more elf-like. Then, its right wrist blossomed, transforming into a red flower. I looked at the scene before me, observing it carefully. It indeed seemed to be changing with ease. "Can the primordial spirit transform like yours?" "Yes, that's the primordial spirit. Everything can change. Even its abilities. It's largely dependent on the owner." I listened carefully to Guanling's words and tried to make KO even smaller, but it didn't work. I didn't succeed this time. I wanted to make it even smaller. "It's okay, Xingze. Once you understand it well, you'll be able to change. Don't worry. There aren't many people in this world who can do this well. From my experience, there probably aren't many, so far, really." "Okay, bring your KO to me." "Okay." I had KO walk to Guanling's side. Just then, Finamu, hovering above Guanling's head, flew in front of KO, stretched out both hands, and slowly stroked KO's head. Suddenly, it emanated a golden red glow, illuminating KO's entire body. The creature uttered a rare sound, and then Finamu withdrew her hand and slowly flew back to Guanling's side. At this moment, my primordial spirit involuntarily shone, as if realizing something. It worked. "I imparted wisdom to your primordial spirit." "Wisdom? What did Master Ling do?" "Yes, imparting the knowledge that Phi Munim and I gained a KO like that was no mean feat, especially since we had similar resistance before. But it worked. I'm worthy of being your master, really, it's fate, and the primordial spirit as well. It accepted us, which is truly remarkable, Guanling said. Seeing that I was listening attentively, she continued, King Kong Ko Daka, gods and half-bodies may exist in the world, but our primordial spirits are so rare, especially here. As I listened to Guanling's explanation, I truly understood a great deal. It's truly rare, I see. Not long after, we concluded our primordial spirit practice. During that process, I realized that shrinking the primordial spirit actually reduces the amount of energy consumed, which is a significant benefit. After the practice concluded, we were about to embark on our respective journeys home, but before we did, Guanling stopped me again. By the way, the Academy will have its spring competition soon. Xingze will be participating, right? You're top of the East Division, right? So why not take advantage of that opportunity to experience it, the spring competition? I've heard from some classmates. It's a test of strength for freshmen at the beginning of the second semester. Yes, I believe that winning is a goal of practice. Of course, it's okay if you can't achieve it, really? That's absolutely fine. I accept that. In class, I often heard students discussing that topic. The spring competition was a popular topic among students at the Mecha Academy, especially the men who enjoyed combat. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.